Wine is not humiliating.
Picard is the worst.
Oh boy, I love the artifact.
Yeah, we can add the break in post.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another very special episode of Back Up a Second. I'm your moderator, Dapper Stormtrooper, here bringing order to the galaxy and this podcast. I'm once again joined by Furious Flounder and Raging Rachmaninoff, and tonight we'll be moving on to discuss episode 3 of the CBS trash hit Picard, currently receiving a 76 from the critics at Metacritic and a 0 from all of us. Ooh. Tonight we're also joined by the newest member of our cast, Krista K. Coburn, a woman so brave she not only uses her real name on the internet, but was also willing to give up what could have been an otherwise productive evening to sit here and talk with us about Star Trek. So let's all just back up a second, throw your leg over the chair, sit down, and prepare to have your positronic net set to stun as we hear exactly why the end is the beginning. Take us away.
Ooh,
that was wonderful. That. Thank you.
Yes. Good segue to that title, too.
That's what I do. And by what I do, I mean what I just did.
Yeah. Dustin, if you didn't know, that's what the title of this episode is. The end is the beginning.
Oh, okay.
Very ominous.
God.
It's a great third episode beginning title.
It's a very generic name, too, because it can mean just about anything.
Mm-hmm. But it sounds deep.
Well, yeah, it's like Star Trek Into Darkness or Star Trek Beyond. They're just so generic. You could literally switch those titles and it would still work.
I honestly never remember which is which and what they're about because, yeah, they're bad titles.
I was just trying to think if either of those titles could apply to tonight's episode, and I'm sure I could make it fit somehow.
I don't doubt it.
All right, so shall we?
Yep.
Unfortunately, yes.
Let's do this.
I mean,
the story so far. All right, so the things we are, of course, reminded of at the beginning of every episode. So Picard has asked for a ship to go on a rescue mission, and he gets savagely shut down.
It does not go well.
Yeah. Laris, our Irish Romulan housekeeper, says that she has reason to believe that the Tal Shiar is a mask for a deeper organization known as the Zhat Vash.
That's the world's most useful housekeeper.
Mm-hmm.
She's like Alfred.
Commodore O.
Yeah, might be
better than Alfred.
Yeah, I mean,
wow.
Romulan
She's
Tal
double
Shiar.
secret agent.
Yeah.
Maybe, potentially. We don't know.
Just stop, Brian. The show wasn't concerned about keeping anyone in suspense, so neither should you.
Commodore O knows Picard's plans to find Bruce Maddox and sends Lieutenant Rizzo to go continue her... Right, not a Muppet. To go continue her task.
Mm-hmm.
Right, she says she has her best man on it, which is her brother, because, Narek is her brother. And so she visits Narek. Narek's approach is the correct one, which is to seduce Soji, the twin sister.
Right.
Right, and he assures that Rizzo that his plan is the way to go.
Yeah,
Rizzo's concern is taking too long.
It was like not even one day, and he was just check that off.
Yeah, Soji's all about that.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly a difficult task. It sounds like
Soji is completely into secretive men. We are reminded that Trill character that we never see again for the rest of the season. That Trill character.
Spoilers.
Oh, is that a spoiler?
No, not
it's
really.
Poor writing.
It's just poor writing,
but we're reminded that she's concerned that she's like, what if the collective reestablishes, control?
So not only is she the exposition fairy, she's also the foreshadowing pixie.
Because, yeah.
We also have Laris and Jaban, that whole bit where they're worried about Picard and his quest, and she's yelling at him angrily in Irish.
in Irish.
We're
It
reminded
would be
that
amazing if she was speaking Celtic as she was yelling at him.
Speaking Gaelic.
Oh, Gaelic. I'm sorry, you're right.
We're reminded that Picard needs someone who hates him and has nothing to lose to go on this quest to protect him.
Which makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Nope.
That's for protection, so it's okay.
But I don't want to bring competent people who are loyal to me because they might get hurt.
But it's okay because Picard has already made the call and went and met with Raffi, who we'll meet more today.
So Raffi is the person he called on that thing?
Yeah. Remember, he went and met with her at the end of the last episode. He took the taxi shuttle.
Well, yeah, but he also did like the communicator thing.
Yeah.
So that was to Raffi, not to
Yeah,
somebody
that was
else.
the call.
Okay.
That's when he's like, "Don't hang up."
Because
I need
communicators are psychic and they know who you mean to call.
Well, that's canon.
It's usually Ghostbusters, but
That goes back as far as original series, even though they didn't have the badges, they had the handheld. They
That's
didn't even
true.
need to say all the time who they wanted to talk to.
Well, I mean, usually they were supposed to be like, Perk Enterprise or Enterprise.
Well-
name up.
Sure, sometimes.
Usually.
So this episode opens with a recap of Mars being attacked.
Oh my goodness, are you serious?
just in case you forgot.
Yeah, it's like a series of shots showing the android and the people getting attacked and the ships destroying the shipyards in orbit, and then the surface of Mars covered in explosions because the androids took down the defense networks.
They spent a lot of money blowing up Mars, so
Hey, it's
they're
a cool shot. I'll give them that.
Yeah, they're like they really want to make sure
It's a shot
to
from
remind
like
everyone Mars is blown up.
yeah,
Gotta take advantage of those explosions. Gotta keep the people
it's
interested.
a shot from like
Right.
high orbit, and on the surface you see like this pockmark of massive explosions. And then we get this like explosion transition to Starfleet headquarters, San Francisco, Earth, 2385, 14 years ago.
Oh, okay. We're doing a flashback. All right.
Oh yeah.
All right, so this is right after Mars exploded. Let's see. Picard is walking outside. He looks sad. He's in uniform. And then we see Raffi, also in uniform, rushing up to him. How did it go? We find out Picard.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, he's an admiral. So now, how many pips?
Well, he's got the
did he
bar.
have? He's got the bar, but it's a full bar. He's a high.
Yeah, I
admiral.
believe so. Like, as far as I could see, it was just a bar. Let's see. So Raffi rushes up to him. She is a lieutenant commander. So she's got the 2.5 pips. Orange
Right.
uniform. Yellow uniform.
All right. So probably security or engineer.
Something like that. I don't know. Anyway,
No, not something. That's
she
how it
questions him about how did it go. He's like, he seems distraught. She's like, well, did they ask you about the ships? He's like, yeah. And then she's like, well, you countered with the inventories of these other ships, right? And well, what about the manpower? They asked about the manpower. He's like, yeah, they did. Well, you told them about the reserve rosters and all that, right? Basically, what they're talking about is Picard proposed a plan to maintain the Romulan evacuation using old mothballed ships and reserve rosters. I mean, it would have been a severely limited replacement plan, but it would have been a replacement plan. And we find out that they declined his plan. They decided that all synthetic life forms are hereby banned. All active units are to be dismantled. All research
great.
halted. And then we find out that
Wow.
what happened,
Wow.
because Raffi asks what happened, and Picard says, well, there was a fatal code error in the operating system.
A fatal code error. That is redescribing the problem. A fatal code error in the operating system is like saying, what happened to your computer? It crashed. Well, what happened? There was an error code. Like, that's the level of technobabble, but okay.
Excuse me.
Fatal error code.
Fatal error code.
AOS.
This is why you're here,
We
Doug.
also
Yeah.
learned the model of the synths. They're the AR500s. That is the model.
Well, there's your problem
Yeah.
right there. You use AR as a prefix, that's just automatically an angry robot.
Well, no. See what it is the AR500s was a odd number, you gotta go with the AR 600s because the odds are bad and the evens are good.
Okay, that makes sense. Except for T1000, but whatever.
It was referring to Star Trek movies.
Oh,
I get it.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I got you.
Thank you. Yeah. Adam, yeah, we gotta.
I should have been with that because I agree with that from the original series. The Wrath of Khan is the best one, and then they go save some whales, I think, and then
no, they look for Spock.
Yeah, don't they? No, that's right. The whales one is 4.
Yep,
Yeah,
the whales is 4. That's my favorite one.
Of course it is. Wrath of
That's
Khan
a lot
is
of
the
people's
best one.
favorites.
Yeah, well, a lot of people smoke crack too, but that's not here nor there.
Two things can be true.
Yep.
I read the novelization of 4.
Wow, that is.
I am
I'm
in
impressed.
awe right now. I am not even. I'm just going to be quiet.
See, I'm just humbled by that as a Star Trek fan.
Yeah. I'm not even a Star Trek fan that much, and boom, I'm impressed.
So Picard gives all this exposition. It looks very downtrodden. Of course, Raffi speculates, well, it must have been the Tal Shiar, right? They must have done this. They must be behind this. And Picard's like, why would the Romulans want to destroy their own rescue fleet? And Raffi's like, no, well, I mean, she seems convinced that there's a connection between the Romulans and this attack. But Picard, anytime she brings it up, a couple times. And Picard's always like, well, why would the Romulans attack their own rescue fleet?
Because all Romulans agree.
9 out of 10, maybe?
No, it's just the double secret Jat Vash, which I will probably never pronounce correctly.
Yeah. You just call me dead guys, right?
I mean, I see where this is going. Because it's episode 3, so let's give away the ending. The Jat Vash did it because they hated androids and didn't want to be rescued. Thanks to a bunch of
android lovers,
not androids, synth
lovers,
synth lovers, synthetic, no artificial life lovers, something like that.
Only numerical functions.
Yeah,
only.
that's that. Computers are for numerical functions only. So both Raffi and Picard, neither of them can believe Starfleet's reactions, right? Picard kind of goes off. He's like, oh, I can't believe nobody is thinking or listening. They're just reacting. We find out that they thought the plan was completely unfeasible. Picard muses that probably half of them didn't want to rescue the Romulans anyway. The others are just afraid. And he would never believe that Starfleet would give in to tolerance and fear.
Intolerance?
Intolerance, yes.
Yeah.
I wrote that down wrong.
Yeah. No tolerance for us.
I mean, don't they have a history of giving in to intolerance and fear?
The Federation or Starfleet?
Yeah.
Well, I guess could be either. I mean, the Starfleet is just kind of the military arm of the Federation.
Not even a good one.
Let's see. So basically, at this point in the meeting, Picard explains that he said that Starfleet can either accept his plan or accept his resignation.
Oh, well, I'm guessing they said
yeah, they accepted his resignation.
Yep.
And Raffi is like, well, there's got to be something. By the way, she calls him JL. So she's like, come on, JL.
Really?
Yeah, well, they're chums.
See, this is why the Starfleet is not a real military.
Like, I get the impression
you don't call an admiral JL.
Well, I get the impression that she is like a protege, and they're close.
It doesn't matter. That's not how that works ever for any reason.
I mean, I agree with Adam for a different reason. No, the Starfleet isn't a real military organization. They just are expected to be one when the Federation gets into a war.
Yep, exactly.
Like, they're not designed to be. I mean, they are kind of like a structural, have that hierarchical organization, but it's really not designed around war.
No, it's a exploration and scientific discovery. Exactly. No, I mean, I don't have a problem with it. It just
but it does have
call it a military.
Yeah, but it does have that hierarchical structure of a military.
I mean, they did go in when there were wars. They were the ones who went in and fought, but still, that wasn't their original design.
Yeah, that wasn't their mandate.
It's because there was literally nobody else, available to fight. They're like, we don't have armies. We don't even have police.
Yeah.
Who's going to check into all these explosions?
And not to mention, every time we've seen the Federation go to war, they do it really poorly.
Mm-hmm.
True. The Dominion War. I mean, come on.
I mean, they barely won that, and that's because of literal divine intervention.
Oh, that's true.
Don't forget Garrick. He's my favorite character.
Isn't that what you meant, Dustin, by divine intervention? Was Garrick?
No, I meant the prophets.
It's true. Yeah, I mean, it ultimately was.
I would have gone with
Man,
Garrick.
what show is this? Like, I didn't watch any
Deep
of this.
Space Nine?
So you guys are you guys are talking about like weird.
I think you'd like
stuff.
Deep Space Nine.
Maybe. I mean, I liked Babylon 5 a lot, and that kind of sounded a little bit like Babylon 5.
Yeah,
there have been some prophet talk and stuff, but doesn't sound like Like the only reference I have for that is God, which one is it? Star Trek 5, where Spock's half brother takes him to the edge of the universe to find God.
Not the edge,
the center.
Oh, the center. Well,
and the Great Barrier.
Oh god.
See, this is how much I don't want to talk about this series. I will talk about DS9 and Star Trek Star Trek 5, which is probably the worst one, rather than wanting to talk about Picard.
My understanding is the first one was the worst one, but
the first one could have been fixed with just an editing to increase the
first
pacing.
one was artsy.
Yeah, which is why it needed to be increased pacing with editing.
Want me to blow your minds again?
Move along.
Yes, I do.
So in high school, I took French, and we could watch French movies or movies dubbed into French for extra credit. I watched the first Star Trek movie, director's cut, in French.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there was like 6 words. and 8 hours of music.
The dub voices were hilarious. Like Spock's voice was super, super deep and manly.
Was it?
Like it was funny, but it was.
Was it for some reason changed into black and white, and the soundtrack was replaced with a sad violin?
That would have helped.
And everyone was smoking.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of French, JL.
Crazy dead language. So Raffi asks Picard, she's like, come on, there's got to be some last crazy, desperate, wild plan, right? That's what you do, is what she says. And Picard's like, that was my crazy, desperate, wild plan. He's completely baffled that they ever would have considered accepting his resignation.
So back up a second. When was Picard known for crazy, desperate, last minute?
It's usually
plans?
rational.
I want to say it started with First Contact.
Oh, I think the movies did it.
Yeah. Jeez. 7 years on the air, then 3 movies ruined it.
So Picard's like, that was my crazy, desperate plan. That was my last ditch effort. And so Raffi's like, well, now what do we do? I mean, I can't continue this without you. And Picard's like, well, we can't even do this without Starfleet's help. It's just too big of a project. And then suddenly Raffi's she's got a tablet that's her communicator. It beeps, right? And she's got a message. And she's like, great, you resign. And the CNC of Starfleet is calling me for a meeting. Commander-in-Chief, talking about Admiral Clancy, I found out.
Oh, was that Admiral Sheer Hubris?
That's Admiral Kirsten Clancy, Commander-in-Chief of Starfleet.
Oh, and she's still Commander-in-Chief 14 years later? Wow.
Is Starfleet a democracy?
Why not?
It's the 24th century. That's like 2 years in the New Year's.
Maybe she likes her job.
Yeah.
Well, I know, but
she gets to yell at Picard, so.
Again, for a kind of military structure, that's a long time for one person to be the chief military officer. That's concerning.
Yeah, that's fair.
I was gonna say, I don't know. Is it Adam?
It is.
Well, in the military, we have the Joint Chiefs.
Well, I mean, she's not the president of the Federation.
I know, but she's the commander-in-chief of Starfleet. Yeah. That sounds pretty...
Like she's like the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Yeah. Or the head of the Department of the Army. Like the military version of that. No, they don't normally last that long. But again, this is the 24th century. People live a lot longer. But
to
for
be
there
fair,
to be, for there to be a commander in chief of Starfleet is a little odd because you normally don't have that in democratic societies. You normally have the civilian as the commander in chief because he serves to the pleasure of the people, as opposed to an officer who does not.
To be fair, though, in this flashback scene,
fair.
she only does say the CNC. But I did look it up, and in the present day of the story, so 2399, Clancy is the CNC. I guess I can't really say if it was Clancy 14 years ago.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I'm realizing that now as I'm saying this. But
I mean, it would make sense, though, because the last episode she talked about, she had to make the decision, and 14 members were thinking about leaving. So, I mean, it does speak to that.
Yeah, but
Good
to
memory.
me, I'm kind of, I know I'm rehashing an argument I had last time. This isn't a decision for Starfleet. Something this big should be happening at the Civilian Federation Council level. It shouldn't be Starfleet saying, no, we're not going to rescue them anymore.
Well,
I don't think it should have
true.
been them to even say, we're going to rescue them. Like, it should be at the council level. So, anyways.
Yeah, I haven't really heard mention of, like, the Federation power structure.
Yeah. Civilians? What? Yeah. So this is what I mean. This is kind of what's making it more fantasy. She's the king or queen.
Queen?
Know?
This is Starfleet, not a monarchy.
I mean,
not the board.
It sounds that way. Yeah, it's not the board.
Well, it doesn't sound like a monarchy.
The writing is making it sound more like a fantasy story than a sci-fi story. That's what
it's not a monarchy. It's a military junta.
All right. So basically, Raffi's now upset because Picard resigns. She gets fired. All right.
Wait, she got fired?
Well, she's saying that, the CNC's calling me. I wonder what that's going to be about, considering Picard just resigned. And then that's what she says. She's like, great, you resign and my ass gets fired. That's the line.
But can you do that?
Why would they fire
Well, because
her?
she's working with Picard. I don't know.
But...
like, I get the impression that she's working very closely with Picard. Like, she is like a protege or some very closely connected to Picard.
I know. It just seems weird in both corporate or a military organization that if you disagree with say even a commander gets fired, to then immediately fire anyone who is working underneath him.
Yeah, that contravenes most military practices. What they would do is give her an assignment someplace way out of the way.
Yeah, you would break up the staff.
Yep.
I would definitely understand that, like being sent, send her way off into the boonies like Bajor.
Well, perhaps we also do get the impression that she's somewhat of a conspiracy nut. And like in this scene, we're already seeing little hints of that where she's talking about like, well, there's a connection. I know there's a connection, right? Maybe that's already been getting her into trouble.
Yeah, a military officer who's also a conspiracy nut.
I don't know. But this is what we're given. She gets fired, and then that's the end of this opening scene. And then the opening credits, which, by the way, I counted this time. There are 19 different producers of various levels.
Oh, for God's sake.
In the opening credits.
That's not good.
Granted, one of those
money at this thing.
Granted, one of those names is Gene Roddenberry. But he is
Gene Roddenberry Jr.
No, it just said Gene Roddenberry, but it was listed next to another name, so I don't know what's going on there. But I did count producers, assistant producers, consulting producer, something like that, a bunch of executive producers.
Yeah.
So there we go.
So 19 producers and one writer.
Well, one or two per episode. Different people do write the different episodes, so I'll give them that.
Okay.
Have to. They just don't talk to each other.
Or watch Star Trek.
Okay, for fact checking, one of the executive producers is Eugene Roddenberry.
Oh,
he is the son of Gene Roddenberry.
So I missed it. It went by quick.
Yep.
So there you go.
That's funny. 19 producers. Okay.
All right. Act 1.
Oh.
We're a half hour in and we're only going Act 1.
Yeah, we've made it past the title.
Should have nursed my drink longer.
Yep.
Act 1, we are at the Vasquez Rocks, present day. This is the wilderness setting that we saw at the end of the last episode with Raffi. So this is where she lives, at the Vasquez Rocks. So Picard has filled in Raffi with his plan and with everything that's going on, and is asking her, he tells her, I need a ship and a pilot. And Raffi is just completely nonplussed. We do get a shot where Raffi goes over, picks a little white flower off of like a bunch of vines that she has growing on her porch. And then during the conversation, she's like grinding it up with her fingers, and she shoves it down into like a vape pen and smokes it.
Okay. Okay. Hold on for just a second.
Okay.
I have to point this out because this is my fact-checking job. Vasquez Rocks, I posted it in the chat, is a national area park, but it is also nicknamed Kirk's Rock for its many appearances in popular culture. It is literally in many Star Trek episodes of the original Star Trek episodes. Each time is a different planet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I thought, I kind of knew that, but I was like, that's so common. I didn't think it needed to be commented on. But
Like, no, I had no idea.
Hey, now it's an actual
I didn't know that
setting.
either. That's funny.
Yeah, I think that's Vasquez Rocks, I think, is where Kirk killed the Gorn, or didn't kill the Gorn.
I would probably recognize it if I saw it.
Yeah. When you said Vasquez Rocks, I was like, okay, I can immediately picture it because it's, deserty, right?
Yeah. So this is where
Oh yeah.
this is
where
where
Raffi that old hill, that's where Kirk and Gorn were.
So she takes this flower, shoves it into a vape pen, and she's smoking this thing.
I can't believe they put vaping in. Are you serious?
Apparently it's called snake leaf.
I mean, Star Trek before used to make fun of, ancient Earth smoking anything.
Yep.
And now we're back
this
to
is the
vaping.
gritty.
It's retro now.
It's retro.
God.
It's hip. It's cool
It's
and
the
hip.
gritty.
All right, we're putting that Star Trek now.
reboot, Dustin.
And they have a
It's
cure
not
for
even that
popcorn lung.
gritty.
Raffi's
Just
gritty.
bad.
She's got attitude. She's smoking.
See, again, lazy writing. Like, that's what's supposed to give her characters.
Well,
that
she's got plenty more character than just smoking. I'm just saying she's
okay.
she's
good.
gritty because she lives in the
But I'm
middle of
just
the
saying,
desert.
like,
You can't help but get gritty.
yeah. So they don't need to have her vape. That makes it worse. They don't need to have her vaping to give her character. Like, we can already piece together her deal.
I think it works. It's a nice little touch.
Well, here's my question: does Picard comment on the vaping, or does he accept it as something that is?
He accepts it. He doesn't comment on it.
Ugh. Okay. Terrible.
Gross.
So Raffi starts going off on him, criticizes him for telling the CNC of Starfleet his plans to go on a secret rescue mission.
Wait, it was secret?
Well, it is now. I don't know. That's just what she complained
That's
about.
not how secret
She complained
works.
about how Picard went to Starfleet and told them what he wanted to do instead of, I guess, just being secretive in the first place.
Okay, she's mad at him for not being more.
I don't know. It's vague. Or vague, as some people would say. She does bring up his interview, right? She makes a comment. She's like, the Picard I remember wasn't so chatty.
What?
Connects that to the interview, right? Because saying a lot of stuff to people he shouldn't be saying things to, like the commander-in-chief of Starfleet. I don't know. This is
All
Raffi.
he
She
does
does.
is give speeches.
Raffi doesn't trust
in-
Starfleet. So that's the point we're
Okay.
getting across here.
Okay, which is understandable considering they fired her for pretty much no reason.
Because she knew stuff, Dustin.
I mean, she didn't know anything.
Yeah.
They were going to save the Romulans, and then they didn't. Like that.
Still confuses me.
Okay.
That's the mystery. That's the question,
don't even-
and that's what
Hey,
Raffi.
my drink
in
has
a
arrived.
Yay!
Hey.
That's Raffi's question. It's like why would they do this? But she's convinced that she knows something about the Romulans being connected to the Mars attack, which of course is connected to the rescue effort. So she's convinced that there's something there.
Okay, so she's still
Just
being
as a note, can we
conspiracy
call it like this? Can we call it the synth uprising or something? Because every time you say Mars attacks, I think,
bah. It's a great
yes,
movie.
exactly.
It's a great movie that people
That-
need to
that
be
is where my
reminded
brain
of constantly.
immediately
I love that movie.
Yeah, and this show, based on star power and very poor writing, it doesn't need to remind us of that.
Wow, that is an amazing connection you just drew because
that's my point.
wow,
that's the movie where I discovered Natalie Portman.
Oh yeah, she's in that movie.
And Jack Nicholson.
For some reason, I just remember Michael J. Fox dying.
Oh yeah,
well, there was
a lot of people die in that movie.
Died.
Yeah,
James Bond died.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Just James Bond.
Yep.
Anyway, resisting the urge to go off on tangents about Mars Attacks jokes. Do not run. We come in peace. We are your friends. So anyway, she mentions the interview, and then she gets all like, she's getting real bitter because she starts going off on him about how he's in his nice house with all his cool, good stuff and his heirloom furniture, and all she has is her little hovel. It's just nothing but humiliation.
Wait,
What?
so she's in poverty?
Yeah, she lives in a trailer in the middle of the desert, Dustin.
Well, people might willingly do
She
that.
got fired from Starfleet 14 years ago and has lived a rough life ever since.
It is Kirk's Rock.
They don't have currency.
Yeah.
Well, she's got a lot of other trauma going on too.
So
So she's in self-imposed exile.
She's living a life of
Generally how
humiliation.
crazies work, yes.
She says basically the last 14 years of her life has been one long slide into humiliation, and it pans down to her cup of wine she's holding in her hand.
Wine is not humiliating.
No, but she is
Thank
drinking
you.
her life away. Is what it's
In a
saying.
classy way.
Okay. No, she's gotten caught up. She's an alcoholic. She smokes. She doesn't have her life together. Something has happened to her. She got fired. Her life fell apart, and she has not recovered from it.
Okay, so one of two things is happening here. Either apparently poverty came back to Earth on top of xenophobia, or she's mad at Picard for basically herself ruining her own life. Like,
Oh, it's because, well, Picard. She talks about it a little bit. Yeah, so she lost her job. She lost her
right?
She
14 years
lost
ago.
her security clearance. Right, all her projects that she was working on, all of her goals and ambitions, just completely dropped out from under her. She's been caught up in alcoholism and rage and smoking too much snake leaf. Right, and then that doesn't help with her paranoid.
Smoking that snake leaf.
Well, she mentioned snake leaf induced paranoia. So obviously, this conspiracy portion of her mind has been getting the better of her.
So why is she mad at Picard? Is it because she's paranoid?
Partially. Also because she says that he never checked up on her. He never touched in just to say hi or see how she was doing.
Oh,
Isn't one of the steps in getting clean to accept responsibility?
You're talking about the 12-step program, Dustin. They don't have the 12-step program at the end of the 24th century.
Yeah, they don't believe in God, remember?
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, 12-step is definitely gone from Earth.
It's only 11 now.
So no, you just have to accept a higher power. So they have to meet Q.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'd be down with that.
Or the god that's in the center of the galaxy, or whoever saved it from the Dominion War, whatever. Apparently God's out there. He's just,
So she's not
kind of dumb.
She's not necessarily blaming Picard for her life falling apart. She pretty much acknowledges that she fell into a spiral and she let her life fall apart. But Picard never touched base. Picard never.
Okay,
checked
so
in
that's
to
why
see how
she
was doing.
Okay,
Yeah.
so in terms that was it. She's mad because Picard never checked in on her.
But we also get a really strong hint that something really traumatic happened to her because she says she lost her she's like, I lost my security clearance, and then she says, I lost, and pauses, and then like gets up and storms away. She can't even bring herself to say what she lost, and she storms off. And Picard's like, Raffi, and she's like, no, don't touch me, and she walks away.
So she must have done something to lose her security clearance
Yeah.
and get fired from the military.
Mhm.
Either
Which
that or just
I'm not even sure you can get fired from the military.
Well, oh yeah.
You can get a dishonorable
You can
discharge.
be
right?
Yeah, officers really don't do that unless it's something really heinous. What they will do is they will suggest that you don't re-up your contract, because while enlisted soldiers sign contracts and basically sort of quote unquote sign their lives away, officers have a service obligation. Usually they have gotten something else from the military and they are repaying that through their service.
Interesting.
Okay.
Again, this is 400 years from now, and this is not really a military.
Well, but they
So-
do speak in military terms. They have court martials and things like that. So
Mhm.
Well, it'd be like us speaking in
This is true.
1600 military terms.
Well, in many cases, we still do. A lot of the
Yeah.
terms come from that long ago.
But
Yeah.
do we run our military the same way they do?
again, in some cases, yes.
I mean, to be fair, this country wasn't a country then.
I was required to know most of the things inside Baron Steuben's blue book, so
Interesting.
that was required reading.
First of all, this is already my favorite podcast because we mentioned Baron von Steuben. So
You're
I
welcome.
just want to.
I will talk about Baron von Steuben, man.
You know what? That's going to have to be
But-
another episode because I love reading about Baron von Steuben.
Next time on
Star
Star
Trek
Trek
Picard,
Picard,
we
we
talk
talk about Baron von Steuben.
Baron von Steuben in the 23rd century.
That would be amazing if they did a time traveling episode and met at
It'd be
the
Baron,
Baron.
Baron von Steuben in the 17th century.
Yeah, like have just like a panel of. It would be kind of like people to fight Khan. You'd have like Bismarck and von Steuben and
Sun Tzu.
like maybe George Washington.
I mean,
Yeah, Sun Tzu if he
they
existed.
Stardate.
mention, Alexander Hamilton in the original series.
Do they really?
Trelane does in Squire of Gothos.
Wow.
Bamf.
Stardate negative 59.3926791.
Tuesday.
4:15 p.m. Okay, so that's the end of that scene. Raffi storms off. Picard is sad, but he gets up to go after her. We cut to the artifact. And I noticed we get whenever we're establishing the Borg cube, we tend to get a lot of these really long traveling shots showing various portions of the cube. And I don't know. I think I'm not sure if it's effective doing what they want to do, but
Are they trying to establish
It's
the
to
layout of the cube?
that's what I thought, but it doesn't really do that. It just shows us that
It's
the
more of a
cube
size
is
test.
big and there are different parts to it. That's really all I gathered
Yeah,
from
exactly.
Hey, check out our
It
production
is a
budget.
method of showing size.
it. Lots of green lights.
Lots of green lights. Well, wait, what's the
Hmm.
color that if it turns, they need to run?
Oh, that was their badge that they got in the previous.
Yeah.
It's just if it starts flashing, I think was all
so
it
it's
was.
fine. Oh, okay.
I don't know. I could find it, but I don't want to. So we're in the artifact, and I'm going to, because I don't know when they actually reveal this, because he says his name later in this episode, but in a non-ceremonial way, as if like maybe we already know this. But we are seeing Hugh in this episode.
Wait, the Borg guy here?
Yeah, the
Oh, no
Borg that
kidding.
was liberated by the Enterprise.
And then followed Lore.
Yeah, but then helped fight against Lore.
That's right. He was on the good Borg side.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. All right.
So yeah, Hugh,
it
and
the-
it's actually it's the same actor.
Wow. Okay, that's impressive. That's
I think-
impressive. They got the same guy.
Adam, you can check that, but I'm pretty sure that that's the same actor.
Yep. No, I am checking
Yeah.
it right now. Yeah, it's the same guy.
And he's had like his implants removed. Like
Okay.
there's still like scars and little like bits of implant left that they can't remove, but like the majority of the Borg implants are gone. And he looks like a fairly normal looking, rather scarred human.
Okay.
Hugh, formerly Third of Five, is as a prominent position as a part of the Borg artifact research
Prominent
Institute.
position. He's the president of the project.
Oh well, that would be the most
Yeah.
prominent, really.
So we see Hugh. Like I said, I don't remember when he gets revealed, but I'm revealing it now. We see Hugh is reviewing footage of Soji speaking that weird language to the nameless ex-Borg on the table. Nameless, remember, is what they call a Borg who they don't know
They know
its
that
original
language.
species.
Rather than give it some kind of designation, they call it nameless because
Yeah.
apparently.
And then somehow
Nothing
Soji
better than dehumanizing.
tries to comfort it in its own language. Which seems strange to me because wouldn't it be a language that like they should be surprised that she knows this language, but nobody ever mentions it?
Well, wouldn't the universal translator translate it?
Well, if it's a species they never met, nobody should know this language. Not even Soji, unless she or not. Wait,
well,
Soji?
the universal
Soji.
translator can translate things it's never encountered.
No,
it's based on algorithms. Yeah. Anytime they discover a new planet, Dustin.
No.
Yeah, it does. Sometimes it takes it time, but yeah, it can.
Yes, that's my point. It does take it time. It's not an instant thing.
Sometimes it is.
Also,
Sometimes it is.
I don't know if these quote unquote nameless are actually talking, so the universal translator may not have a chance.
No, they're not talking.
But in the previous episode, I forget his name, the Theon Greyjoy Romulan, didn't he note and was
he seemed surprised by it, but I meant Hugh doesn't really say anything about it. He mentioned he goes and talks to Soji, right? And he tells her that, right, he congratulates her on such a remarkable act of showing compassion to this XB. This Hugh being an XB.
He calls it an XB too.
Well, they use various terms. I'm using the term XB.
Okay.
Just for shorthand. But he's impressed by her compassion, right? But he doesn't mention that she's speaking this language, so I don't know if this is like a weird language or not. But there we go. So anyway, Hugh ends up telling Soji that after giving it some thought, he's decided that he'll grant Soji the interview that she requested with a character that we will find out is named Ramda.
Wait, when did we find out that Soji wanted an interview with someone?
Well, just now.
Oh, okay.
And she's been pestering about. She's been pestering him about it for a long time too.
Wait, how could it be a long time? She just got there.
No, she's been there for a bit. It's just the orientation only just started.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
No, I thought she just arrived. She's been there like a day.
No, that was the other girl.
So why was Soji at orientation?
Did she just arrive?
Yeah, she just arrived. She came on the ship in like
Oh,
episode
that's
1.
right.
She got there. She slept with Theon Greyjoy.
I guess
Then she went to orientation.
Maybe she knew Hugh before. Or maybe just in those few days, it felt like such a long time because she kept pestering Hugh.
I mean, I can relate just listening to this series, so it can feel like a long time.
So he decides to grant her this interview, and she's excited, but he's like, I just have to know why, right? And Soji explains that, she starts asking about, like, does Hugh know who this Romulan was before she was assimilated, right? And she mentions that she has read her Romulan dossier, this Ramda chick. She's a Romulan XB, basically. And then Hugh is surprised, like, how did you read that, right? He's surprised that she had access to it. And she was just like, well, I just asked for it. They gave it to me. And then in this sort of voice of wisdom, she's like, usually I find that if I ask people for help, they're happy to give it.
Well, it sounds like she's been living on Earth in the 24th century.
Mm-hmm.
That seems accurate.
Well, Hugh disagrees.
Sounds like she has mind control power.
Hugh says that he's had different experiences.
Well, he's an ex-Borg. He would have different experiences.
It's true. Racist.
Racism.
Yep.
So basically, we find out Soji's excited because Ramda is the foremost expert on ancient Romulan mythology. She even mentioned
why is she on the Borg ship then?
Books about it. She was assimilated.
Oh, right. Okay. She was an ex-Borg. So she became an expert before she was assimilated?
Yeah.
Oh,
foremost expert on ancient Romulan. She even wrote books about it, Dustin.
That's how you know.
And we find out that Soji's kind of.
How old is she? Does she look?
Probably later 40s, perhaps.
Okay, so to be clear, she became the foremost expert, then wrote some books on Romulan mythology, then was assimilated, and then rescued, and has been on this ship for some time, and she's somewhere in her 40s.
I'm guessing
80s, whatever.
Okay. I just like poking holes like that. All right, go ahead.
So we find out that Soji's like main focus, her main interest, like career interest is she's interested in evidence for the therapeutic utility of a shared mythological framework. You follow that?
What?
Yeah, the shared or the therapeutic utility of a shared mythological framework to help the
I get that.
XBs.
Oh,
Right, they
I get that.
They can heal or recover better.
Like
Okay.
archetypes?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh man, see,
Exactly.
Going back to our earlier conversations?
Yeah.
the not
Yes, it
recorded ones.
So Hugh decides to grant 30 minutes as an experiment to see how things go.
Okay, so we're gonna find out that there's something weird and Romulan myth about ancient Borg
Or androids.
or androids.
Yeah.
Well, no, because I'm going
Most likely.
with at the end of episode 1, Brian, you said something about the Borg being created by the Romulans and then cut off. So is this
Did I
what we're
say
gonna
that?
find out?
Did I say that or was I speculating?
Well, you were speculating.
Okay. That's dangerous territory.
The Borg are from the Delta Quadrant.
Originally.
True.
Yeah.
But I mean, we don't care about continuity
Obviously.
in this series, so they could say it was Beta Quadrant, then move to the Delta Quadrant.
There's nothing in the show so
Let's see
far
what the
that
name.
said anything about the Romulans creating the Borg. I think that was a speculation that I saw somewhere.
Okay, all right. But I mean, we're already going into Romulan mythology, so
Yes.
why would we bring this up in a sci-fi show unless we're going to find out? This is a Chariots of God situation.
Well, let's
It's
find
those-
out.
It's those Greek god aliens from the original series.
Oh yeah. One of them came back and did the fan series Star Trek Continues, and Zeus actually comes back. They get the same actors. Fantastic.
Oh, I want to see that.
Oh, it's their first episode of Star Trek Continues. Highly recommend watching it.
Come back, Zeus. The island doesn't want you to leave.
All right.
Okay, so
mythology. Romulan mythology.
Hugh grants 30 minutes as an experiment to see how it goes. That's the end of the scene. Cut to Raffi and Picard. Raffi is sitting on a rock, drinking straight from the bottle of wine that Picard brought her.
Is it Kirk's rock that she's sitting on?
Oh, it's a rock.
It's a rock.
It's not even internet connected, so it's not even an iRock.
No.
So Raffi's sitting on a rock, drinking from the bottle. Picard approaches, and I gotta give him props here. He empathizes with her anger. He acknowledges what he did. Right? He's like, I didn't contact you. You were confused. You were hurt. Right? I didn't help. Right? He acknowledges it.
Good for him.
And he apologized. Picard empathizes, acknowledges, apologizes.
That's kind of the Picard we know.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
Raffi,
Well, I mean, it would be nice if he didn't need something from her, but yes.
right?
True.
Raffi's like, I don't care. And then Picard resorts to manipulating her. So he sits down and starts tapping into her conspiracy brain, and basically brings up again the fact that the Tal Shiar are operating openly on Earth, and that can't happen without Federation complicity. And then Raffi's like, I'm listening.
Oh my goodness.
Why does Picard think that they're...
I don't think he does. I think he is manipulating her.
I mean, that does seem to be the case, but I mean, he doesn't get to see the same things we see.
Yeah, but he is saying there were I mean, to me, he's expressing my outrage from the last 2 episodes. Romulans are operating with impunity on Earth, and Federation security is nowhere.
Now, to be fair, I could give him credit here and say that he's still continuing to empathize and connect with her by acknowledging what she believes and what she's trying to tell him.
No, he knows that Romulans are operating on Earth because one of the dudes in the first fight scene got de-helmeted.
Well, yeah, I'm talking about the Federation complicity.
True.
Yeah.
I mean,
He doesn't really know
he doesn't,
that.
and by emphasizing it, I do believe. Yeah, I agree. He is manipulating her.
Yeah.
So she opens up to him.
Well, yeah,
Right.
he just
And-
manipulated her emotions.
In the conversation, we find out that Raffi does in fact have evidence for a Romulan connection to the Mars attack.
Bah, 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 bah.
Yes. And that she says she claims she has evidence. She knows that a high-ranking Starfleet official allowed the attack to go forward to end the rescue mission.
She has
Yeah,
evidence
because
for that.
jet fuel cannot melt steel.
Right. Well, Picard's like, well, no, there's no reason. Why would the Romulans destroy their own rescue mission?
Well, I mean, this actually reminds me of like more Pearl Harbor conspiracies than 9/11 conspiracies. Like, Roosevelt let it happen.
Right.
Ooh.
That's the conspiracy. So yeah, that's kind of what it makes me think of. A lot. Federation allowed it to happen.
That's my Roosevelt impression.
What's the Roosevelt? Roosevelt sounds like a Mars Attack Martian.
Yes. I mean, he's still a very cool president. He just sounds like a Martian.
We have nothing to fear but fear. It's a
day that will live infamy.
Anyways, again, trying to talk about anything but
carry on.
So Picard again, he says,
fault.
why would the Romulans do this? Right? There's no reason the Romulans would destroy their own rescue fleet. And then Raffi is like, well, what do you think happens when there's a cover-up? They conceal it. Which I guess
that's the definition of a cover-up.
Yeah,
that's the follow-up.
Yep,
And then Picard,
that's what happens when it
and
rains.
Picard
You get
says,
wet.
that's why I need your help. He needs her mind the way that she can make patterns and connections, right? She can see things that other people can't.
You're right. He is totally manipulating her and just patting her on the head. Oh yeah, sure, conspiracy. You got to help me find it. Now give me that.
He kind of sounds like a jerk right now.
I know.
Well, Raffi tells him to go away. She's like, go away. Just please, just go.
Oh.
And he gets up and he walks away. Doesn't say a word. And as he's walking away, Raffi turns to him and says, I have a pilot for you.
What?
Yeah. So she found a pilot for him. His name is Rios.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess already. Or maybe she knows him already. So she's like, I know a guy, right? I don't know. She says, I have a pilot for you. His name is Rios. He'll be in touch.
Okay, so I really don't blame the series for this because, again, this is like a movie trope. Like, if she was just going to say yes anyways when he walks out, why did you bother saying no?
We need character development.
That's
character development.
No, it was a framework that we could use to go and have this moment between them where we find out previous exposition from flashbacks that we've already seen.
No, but I mean, why did she say no, go away? Please just go.
I swear to God, if you make me snort whiskey out my nose, I am going to leap through this microphone and hurt you.
Are you talking
to me or Dustin?
Or
all of you? You've been warned.
I'm guessing it's the wine and the snake leaf.
Or it's like one of those situations where, like, you make a decision and then as soon as you voice that decision, you change your mind.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
People are allowed to
like
be wishy-washy.
It sounded like she already did it. She already found him the thing that he needed and then like vented at him for an hour or so. And it was like, wow, I really don't want to get, but I already did it. So
maybe
it is JL or whatever the hell she calls
JL.
it.
Yeah.
Ugh.
They better have been sleeping together. That's the only way I'll forgive the JL.
Yeah, that's kind of what it sounds like to me.
Oh wait, okay. So I asked about Agnes. Are these two going to be shipped together? How old is Raffi?
Picard's like in his 90s.
So, Adam posted a picture from 14 years ago, so there's a bit of an age difference there.
Yeah.
Have you seen Patrick Stewart's wife?
No, I haven't.
No, but I've seen Patrick Stewart, so yes, I guess I will give you that. Apparently, he is rocking the sexy bald guy like no one I have ever known, and that is why I'm jealous.
No, Cisco rocks it.
Okay, fact checked. Michelle Hurd, who plays Raffi or Rafaela Muskier, it was born in 1966, and that makes her 54.
Raffi was born in 1966.
No, the actress who played her was. Come on,
not as bad.
Accepted.
Wow, she looks good for her 50s. That's impressive.
Women have to, Dustin.
Well, I guess it is Hollywood. That's a good point, but still, that is impressive.
So we cut to the Daystrom Institute in Okinawa.
All
Right.
right.
And I love these outside establishing shots. Adam, see if you can find a picture of this, because they got some really cool, like there's a building that's like you can see really far away, but it's massive and it's going up into the sky, like it's floating over the ocean. It's really cool. I got to give them the imagery of the establishing shots and the scenery in this show are really, really good.
You know, I will give it. I mean, I'll gladly give it to him because, and when I'm complaining about Discovery, I'm like, production value and, you know, their shots were really amazing stuff. It was just the writing and dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a cool shot.
Yeah. And so that we cut to the Daystrom Institute. We are outside and we pan down to see Agnes sitting there. She's having a little picnic. She's eating some food and she's listening to Caecilian opera.
I don't know what Caecilian opera is.
Well, we hear opera music, right? Like a soprano singer, right? And I actually looked it up, and it's Caecilian opera, which was written for an episode of Star Trek Discovery.
Oh, okay.
And apparently, I found out just based on this little summary that how does it go? Something along the lines of like these singers, these Caecilian divas. They sing these arias and then kill themselves at the end.
What?
That's, I guess, the tradition.
Wow.
That's messed up.
Dedication.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm getting a Fifth Element vibe right there.
I was thinking something along the lines of like a swan song sort of tradition.
Yeah, I was like, talk about a swan song. Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what's funny is I'm just thinking.
I'm gonna post it in the chat, but obviously listen to it on your own.
It's actually not that bad.
What would happen if you're like singing this and then you like mess up a note? Do you get to stop?
Well, then your life is
try to
ruined
get tomorrow.
No, your life is ruined.
And you're still.
Yeah, you don't have to kill yourself.
No, you still
you already died on
You've
stage.
wasted your life.
Is it only women who sing these? Because I feel like that's pretty sexist.
I don't know. I don't think we get that much information.
I'm going to guess the writers were thinking only the women.
In fact, if you look up Caecilian opera on Memory Alpha, I think all you'll get is that thing about the singers killing themselves.
I can't imagine that being a species in the Federation.
I don't know. Adam?
Hey, man, respect their culture.
Did they give any more information about Caecilians, or is it just that one little opera bit?
Caecilian opera featured by Caecilian prima donnas. Such performers trained their whole life for a single performance. After she hit the last high E note, the Caecilian prima donna typically committed suicide by plunging a dagger into her own chest.
That's messed up.
That's dedication.
Citing Star Trek Discovery. Caecilians were an alpha or beta quadrant species. Even Memory Alpha doesn't know. And they are known for that opera, and that is about it.
Yeah, I think it was just a one little thing in one episode of Discovery. That's all we get.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I don't know. I haven't seen Discovery.
That is interesting for almost a literal swan song.
So anyway, we get a reference to Discovery here. Because Dr. Agnes P. Girardi is sitting outside eating and enjoying the view. And then suddenly we find that the way the camera moves, Commodore O is revealed to be standing right behind her with these awesome sunglasses, by the way. She's sporting some shades.
I forgot now. Is she human?
She's Vulcan.
She's Vulcan. Oh, are we sure she's Vulcan?
She's the director of Starfleet Security, so I certainly hope so.
Oh, okay. Wow. All right.
No brow ridges.
Messed up if she was Romulan in disguise.
So Commodore O meets with Agnes, introduces herself. Yep. Awesome. Those are the types of shades that you would have like the mirrors in the sides so you could see behind you that you would win in like elementary school.
Yep.
Except it doesn't work for her because her ears get in the way for her.
Her ears and her hair would both be in the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So Commodore O introduces herself as director of Starfleet Security. Agnes takes out the earbuds, and then
she's wearing earbuds.
Well, yeah. How is she listening to the Caecilian opera?
I don't know. I guess.
And they must be Bluetooth because there's no wires.
I'd expect. There's probably the whole device is in the pods.
Maybe. But basically, Commodore O wants to talk to Agnes about the two recent visits she had with Admiral Picard. And Agnes looks really nervous, and we Cut to black. That's the end of Act 1.
Wait, who looked really nervous? Agnes?
Agnes.
Okay.
Yeah, because she's jittery and nervous looking anyway. So you have the director of Starfleet Security shows up, and she's like,
I mean, does Agnes know the director of Starfleet Security?
Evidently.
Well, once she introduces
those
herself,
sunglasses.
Oh,
she introduces herself as the
Okay.
director of Starfleet Security.
I guess, yeah, I would be nervous too if all of a sudden, like, somebody came up to me at park and said, "Hi,
Dude, I get nervous when I drive past a cop.
Well, what are you doing with your driving?
Well, I used to speed.
Oh, jeez.
But no, I'm just saying. I used to get nervous just seeing a cop on the road with
right.
me.
You are an American, Brian. When you drive by, you flip that cop a bird because this is America.
As long as you do it with your left hand. Keeping one hand on the wheel.
So, Act 2. We are at the artifact. Soji and Hugh walk up to a dude. They're going to meet with the Romulan XB. And they walk up, and Hugh says to the guy at the comm panel, he says, "We're here to meet with patient 4822 stroke 2." And the guy is like, "Under what authority?" Because it's restricted. And then Hugh looks all indignant. He's like, by the director of the Reclamation Project, which
Wait,
is
I thought
me.
he was the president.
The director, I'm sorry.
Oh, he's the director.
Yeah, it was same level of
both. We do two things.
And so he lets them in. So here we have another example of somebody not recognizing a very prominent figure. Just like we saw with Picard, and
Yeah, simultaneously famous and not famous.
Yeah, take a shot. So they go into this room full of what have been labeled as disordered, and it's basically a bunch of Romulan XBs. And we get the line that Hugh says that these are the only Romulans who have ever been assimilated, as far as he knows.
Okay.
And so they approach Ramda, who is sitting at a table playing with these triangle-shaped tiles, right? Kind of piecing them together into this big sort of kind of hexagraph sort of shape, but more than hex. Soji walks up, says hi. Ramda looks up at her and then back down, doesn't say anything. And she's putting, each of these tiles have like different pictures on them. Like the one that she puts down here has like a crescent moon, puts it next to a tile with a torch on it. And then that's all we see before we cut to Raffi's trailer.
Okay, so we getting the impression that Romulans don't take well to being unassimilated?
I guess not, because they're kind of crazy.
Okay.
Like you have your standard walk into an asylum type characters where one is significant, like one is seriously investigating a spot on the wall.
Okay.
The other is playing with a sort of a Romulan Rubik's Cube. Ramda is just sitting there mesmerized by these tiles that she's putting down.
So I know no one who writes Star Trek is ever going to listen to this, but I just want to pretend that I'm speaking to them and say, this is why you just invent if you're going to have a species that plays heavily into your series, just create a new species, because Star Trek nerds like me are going to be like, well, Orem from Voyager had no problem being unassimilated and he seemed pretty normal.
Was he a Romulan?
Implied though that people did have a hard time unassimilating, like that was a really hard thing to do.
I believe the implication
everyone has a hard time, but the implication here is like Romulans have a particularly difficult time.
Like they specifically make sure that they mention it's Romulans don't do well with being assimilated.
Yeah. So
maybe it's their mental abilities if they share those with the Vulcans.
Yeah.
Well, which is fine, but then we can go back and nitpick lore and be like, oh, well, there's a Romulan Voyager who was unassimilated that was just fine.
Yeah.
You know,
Laura wasn't a Romulan.
Orem.
Oh.
Not lore, Orem.
Okay.
Oh, you're making fun because I said lore. Okay, sorry, I wasn't following the joke.
Anyway, we cut to Raffi's trailer at night. It's nighttime. Raffi's working on her holo computer, right? Her little pop-up screen. And then she's doing something, and then suddenly gets a call from Picard. Picard's face pops up, and Raffi says, "What?" And Picard's like, "You're doing the research, aren't you?" Raffi says, "No." Picard says, "I'm sending you everything that Daystrom had on Bruce Maddox." Raffi says, "I don't want it." Picard says, "Carry on." Hangs up.
Wait, what?
All right.
Basically, Picard calls, dumps a bunch of research material about Bruce Maddox, and hangs up.
What?
Presumptive.
Wow, what an
Yeah.
I mean, This guy is a master manipulator.
I mean, he's not wrong. She is doing the research.
I know, but still, it's just, yeah, very presumptive of. First is manipulating Raffi, and then Agnes like, here's a bunch of research. I bet you're already doing it, so go ahead and do this.
No, this is Raffi he gives it to.
Oh, he gives it to...
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Raffi
it's
again.
Raffi again.
He's still manipulating
Yeah.
Raffi.
Oh my goodness. That makes it even worse.
Cut to a ship in orbit.
Okay.
And Picard beams aboard. So this isn't like a huge giant starship. This is like a smaller ship.
We're finally in outer space with Picard. Episode.
When all of a sudden Malcolm Reynolds appears. Cue the guitar.
Picard beams aboard, and we do hear a slow Next Generation theme playing. No, it's just
not the ship.
that part.
Oh.
And so he calls out.
Manipulating our emotions.
Picard calls out for Captain Rios.
Captain Rios.
And a man walks in and says, "You must be Picard. I'm afraid you might be too late," and walked away. Picard
What?
follows. This guy has a British accent, by the way.
Okay.
Just
Awesome.
take note.
Okay.
They walk into another room, and we see Captain Rios, who looks identical to this man we just saw.
So, oh boy, twins.
Captain Rios is sitting in the captain's chair, identical appearance, but he is shirtless. He's lighting a cigar, and he has a huge metal shard sticking out of his shoulder.
Ah.
Good grief.
Oh
It's
my
titanium shrapnel is
Okay.
what we find out it is.
God. Oh. Jeez.
He introduces himself as Chris Rios, and then mentions the other guy is just an EMH. And the EMH is like, just? And they ignore him.
You mean he's artificial life?
He's an EMH. He's not a synth.
He's artificial intelligent. So let's back up a second to Captain Rios's introduction here. What?
Yeah, that seems really random.
Yeah, so explain this to me again.
So he's
Picard?
sitting in his captain's chair,
Okay.
and he's shirtless
He's shirtless.
and has a big shard of titanium alloy sticking out of or titanium shrapnel sticking out of his right shoulder.
So is it like bleeding? Like is it fresh?
There's a little
or
bit of
just
blood
it's
on
always
it.
there.
It's just there.
Okay.
Like there's a little bit of blood on it, but Rio seems completely unconcerned.
So this is all right. So this is a man's man, and then
He
what else?
don't give a shit about nothing.
What else?
And he's lighting a cigar.
Oh, of course he's lighting a cigar because
Because he's manly.
that got so bad. Look at it. He's got shrapnel and he's just lighting up a cigar like nothing's happening. That guy's so cool. He's so bad.
So Picard walks up, and Rios is totally downplaying his interest in the fact that Captain Jean-Luc Picard or Admiral Jean-Luc Picard just walked onto his ship.
Well-
Rios is like, "Yeah, I heard of you. I think I read one of your books one time."
Okay, so again, Picard famous.
Renaissance
Right,
man.
right.
He reads.
Yeah.
And when Picard asks what happened, Rios simply says, "I didn't die."
Oh man, that guy's so cool. He's so badass. That guy. He's the coolest character.
And he-
in the world.
And he just hangs out, injured. I don't need any help. I'm manly.
Is the EMH at least attending to his injury?
Oh yeah, the
Okay.
EMH is there the whole time,
All
working
right.
on getting it removed.
Okay.
So Rios calls for a bottle of alcohol.
Oh man, that guy's so badass.
He says aguardiente. He's Spanish, right? He says aguardiente, and this, I don't know what kind of scotch it is, but it's some sort of strong alcohol.
Guy's so badass.
He pours a shot, offers it to Picard, and Picard says, "No, thank you," and crosses his arms. And so Rios just dumps a shot on his shoulder.
Oh, for God's sake.
Oh man,
Really?
that guy's so cool. He's the greatest character.
He tells Picard to sit. Picard walks past the captain's chair, which, okay, correction. Rios isn't sitting in the captain's chair. He's sitting in one of the pilot's chairs because Picard walks past the captain's chair, kind of looks at it for a moment and walks past it. He doesn't sit in the captain's chair. He goes and sits down in another chair, and there's a book sitting on that chair. Right? And we get a shot of the title of the book. It's The Tragic Sense of Life by Miguel de Unamuno, the philosopher.
Is that like a real book?
Yeah, it's a real book. The dude's an existentialist philosopher,
Okay.
where basically he's like, the tragic sense of life is you have to forge your own path, and that's like, you got to do your
okay.
own thing.
And no new existentialist works have appeared in the last 300 or 400 years.
well, this is an
People
important
go
one.
back and read the classics.
This
Yeah.
is an important one. This is like one of the big ones.
I mean, people still go back and read Sun Tzu, and that's thousands of years ago.
Like this
right?
is the one that really kind of set forth one of the initial arguments of, or I don't know if it was one of the first, but it was one of the important ones that posited the argument of like, if everything is pointless, why bother? But we bother despite the fact that it's pointless.
Yeah.
Which is like the whole point of Star Trek.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do have to give the series credit. This is a lot better than the iRobot reference earlier. So,
In the last episode.
So yeah, I actually overall so far I'm kind of enjoying this episode a lot more than other than
this guy,
Rios'
I have to
intro.
say, Rios, I think is my favorite character.
Oh yeah, he's so bad. I gotta love that character.
Because you're supposed
Smokes
to
a cigar and
know,
dreams
has
starts while he's got shrapnel.
Or at the very
I
least, he's
mean,
my favorite actor on the show.
Yeah.
For reasons.
Okay.
As a interesting side note, as I continue to troll through Google, this actor is actually in the original Heroes, the show.
Is he? Oh, is he the
Yep,
he
do
the
you remember
nuclear
that?
painter?
He's the painter. Yep.
Nice. I'm surprised I saw that. I got that. That's cool.
And our chat says that the alcohol he ordered is Portuguese
Okay.
Makes
I
sense.
didn't look it up.
or Spanish. He just
I think
added. That's a strong alcoholic beverage.
He's probably doing more fact checking than the series, so we'll give it to him.
Anyway, so they have a conversation, and we find out, he asks Picard, like, where are we going? And Picard's like, I'm working on it. When are we leaving? As soon as possible. Are you planning on breaking any laws? Are you breaking any laws right now? And Picard's like, I don't know. And Picard says this.
Doesn't know.
He says this interesting quote. He says, I don't know. I'm not in the habit of consulting lawyers before I do what needs to be done.
Anymore?
Yeah, I feel like he has in the past.
Yeah, he was always during TNG. He was pretty law abiding.
He was,
Yeah, but did he consult lawyers?
I mean,
I
he
mean,
consulted with Starfleet
yeah.
and like
He
all
was
of
a-
their lore.
He acted as a lawyer once.
Yeah, that's what I
And
said.
won that
Sure.
case. He crushed it.
That was the data case.
Yeah.
He also acted as a lawyer in the that one episode where the Romulan was posing as the devil for this planet. Do you remember that one? And they have a whole big trial, and they find out that she's able to do these like images because she has a Romulan ship that's giving her the technology to look like this devil, and there's a whole contract where she owns the planet.
Oh.
Yep.
And she claims to own Picard and the Enterprise because it's in orbit, and Data's like, the scriptures could be interpreted that way, right?
Yep. Yeah, it turns out she's just a shyster.
And then after the trial, Picard takes her ship away and leaves her on that planet to be horribly, horribly killed by the people of the planet.
And he didn't consult his lawyer before
He
doing
was
it.
the lawyer.
I feel like if any captain in Star Trek is going to be the one to not consult a lawyer and do sneaky, underhanded stuff, it's Cisco because he did that.
Right? Yeah. Well, I mean, with Picard, it's a weird
Really?
line
Not Kirk?
because Picard, he was the lawyer. He didn't need a lawyer because he didn't care. He didn't need a lawyer because he knew the law.
Yeah, he's
Right.
very.
So he's not in the habit of consulting lawyers.
This is 90-year-old renegade Picard, though.
Yeah,
so-
I guess he's seen a lot of shit.
I'm now remembering another episode where like Picard invoked some obscure treaty thing to solve a problem because he was like, well, I'm going to take this to arbitration and the third party species I name is blah, blah, blah. And they're like, well, they're in hibernation for the next 6 months. So they can't. He's like, well, I guess we can't arbitrate it then for another 6 months. Anyone remember that? I think it was a season 1 episode, but again, being all lawyerly, he is the lawyer.
Yeah, he's always very official.
Which is why he doesn't have to consult.
Yeah, but that's not what he
lawyers.
said. He said it makes it sound like
He says, I'm not in the habit of consulting lawyers before I do what needs to be done.
No, he's not in the habit of consulting lawyers because he
Okay,
is
wait.
one.
Wait. Okay, that's just it. Okay, so here's what I'm getting out of this based on our previous conversations. Picard is manipulating this dude.
Oh
He's
my
like,
god, you're right.
I'm just a cool guy too. I don't consult lawyers. Let's go do renegade stuff and smoke cigars and pull titanium out of our shoulders.
I mean, you're not
while we have it.
Just having a late life crisis.
You're not wrong.
Yeah,
You're not wrong. The scene continues.
You're right. Oh my god, Picard is the worst.
So the
Or
EMH,
best. Yeah, I don't know.
best.
That's how it's
the
going.
EMH pulls out the shard, and then like moves to get the dermal regenerator or whatever it's called, and then Rios is like, no, I'll take it from here.
Oh,
Right, and
that guy's
ultimately-
so cool.
Yeah, he's like, I don't need your help, and he deactivates the EMH.
I'll do it myself.
So we find out in this following conversation, we find out that Rios used to be the XO of a heavy cruiser. Rios explains it was called the Ibn Majid, although Picard probably hasn't heard of it because it doesn't exist. It was erased from Starfleet records.
Okay, well, wait. Well, let's back up a second.
Computer status report.
Yep. The episode in question that we were referring to was the Ensigns of Command, which is season 3, episode 2, 1989. Yes, the species would be the Shellac, and Picard's proposed mediators were the Grizalis, who happened to be hibernating at the time and wouldn't awaken for 6 months.
Thank you for proving I'm not just making up Star Trek in my head.
Nope, that was a real thing that happened according to Quora. So,
So Brian,
Yes.
say that thing you just said again.
Okay. So Picard is like, you were the XO of a heavy cruiser? Picard must have known that. And then Rios responds by saying, yeah, it was called the Ibn Majid, except he probably hasn't heard of it because it never existed because Starfleet erased all its records.
So how did Picard know about
Well,
it?
Picard knew somehow that Rios was the XO of a heavy cruiser.
Oh, okay.
And then Rios said what it was called and that Picard probably never heard of it. You probably never heard of it.
'Cause he's too cool.
Oh my god, guys are cool.
he's
So cool.
But Picard doesn't question it. The conversation.
He doesn't question
Yeah, he
it?
doesn't question it. So basically, we find out, so Picard, he's doing his manipulation thing here, right? And we find
Oh
out
my goodness.
that, like, he's like, "Do I sense some bitterness towards Starfleet?" Right? And Rios this whole time is giving off this whole "I don't give a damn" kind of attitude. He even says that at one point. I don't give a damn.
Oh man, he's so cool. He's swearing in Star Trek.
But then
He's so
Picard
cool.
is like, well, I notice everything's in order. Everything's nice and clean and kept ship shape.
He does care.
You're
You can have some pride.
so well, Picard says you're Starfleet to the core.
Oh.
Right? You put on this persona, but you are Starfleet. Because another part of the conversation was like, we find out that Rios doesn't trust Starfleet, and Picard's asking, well, what about, you're going to be working with me? And he's like, you're not Starfleet anymore. And he's like, bullshit. Yes, I am. He doesn't say bullshit. But that's the gist of the conversation.
Okay.
But Picard says, no, you're Starfleet to the core. I can smell it on you.
And what does Captain Rios say to this?
He basically, he's like, you can hire me or not. Just don't try to get inside my head.
Okay. All right.
Cut to Raffi on her computer. She's working away. She's looking at stuff. She's pulling up windows, turning virtual knobs and stuff.
alt tabbing like nobody.
And she gets a pop-up.
Be very Star Trek-y computer stuff.
She gets a pop-up. I don't know what this means, but here's what it says. It shows this. It's a very close-up of this particular line in a collection of other lines that don't make any sense. This one says, crypto algorithm identification, Gorn egg.
What?
That's all we get. And then it moves to the next shot where we see a couple other lines. The first line says type, quantum fingerprinting, origin, free cloud. And then we see this pop up. I'm guessing it's like a homepage advertisement because it says welcome to Free Cloud. And there's a picture of a dude rolling dice.
Oh no. Oh, I don't understand what that investigation she was doing.
Cut back to the ship.
Oh,
Real quick, just that's an Easter egg. Apparently, Gorn egg can only refer to the egg of the lizard alien species Captain Kirk famously fought on the planet Cestus 3, and this is literally actually where he's at. They're filming it at that place she is.
yeah. So that's like an Easter egg, but what does
Gorn
it
egg.
mean?
It means that
It means that spring is here.
nostalgia.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it doesn't
that-
have to mean anything.
Well, I'm just saying,
Groundhog,
if you're showing this,
Space Groundhog didn't see his shadow.
well, if you're showing this research though, filling up the screen and taking up screen time,
Well, it's
and
not showing any research. It's just showing gibberish lines of code.
well, I think it's meant to imply research. So you would think
I agree.
that
Okay.
there would be like some kind of connection, like ending with Free Cloud is probably where they're going.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, crypto.
Gorn egg.
That's yeah. I don't know why Gorn egg would just be randomly thrown in there. And I don't even consider that an Easter egg. We know Gorn exist, and they're lizards.
Well, that's how
Okay,
Easter eggs work.
whoa,
Dustin.
okay. What's this we? Is that the royal we?
We as in
Because-
Star Trek fans?
Okay.
Okay.
got it.
Wow, Dustin, how elitist.
Well, if you're throwing an Easter egg in, you're throwing it in for Star Trek fans.
There's tons of Easter eggs in this show.
I mean,
I'm not
how,
even mentioning the
how long does it linger on this screen?
briefly.
Yeah, see, so it's an Easter egg.
Right, we get more time for that second shot where we see quantum fingerprinting and Free Cloud. And then we cut back to the ship. Rios is in his room. He's reading his book and drinking.
Oh my god, so cool! He even drinks my reads.
A hologram appears. This one has an Irish accent, a bad one.
It's not a legit
Uh,
one.
And he shows up and he says, navigation sensors back at maximum range. And he starts questioning Rios about Picard's presence. And like he's hyping Rios up. He's like, oh, do I sense you're a little bit starstruck, maybe? The great Captain Picard. And he goes off. I'm going to read this to you. He's like, Jean-Luc Picard, chief contact with the Q Continuum, arbiter of succession for the Klingon Empire, savior of Earth from Borg invasion, captain of the Enterprise D and E. The man even worked alongside the great Spock.
Yes.
Yeah, and so he's hyping. He's excited. He's trying to, because he's talking to Rios. He's like, "Aren't you excited? This is big time."
Wait,
right?
this is the EMH?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we find out he's the ENH,
I don't know what that means.
the emergency navigational hologram.
Oh,
He's just got holograms all over his ship, just
Yep.
running everything.
Yep. It's not made very clear right off the bat, but you do find that out.
And they all look like him.
Yes.
and this one has an Irish accent.
Yes.
So he's super vain.
Well, in a later episode, they do touch on it a little bit more, and like it's left unclear whether he does this for vanity or whether it was something he accidentally did and just left it that way because he couldn't be bothered.
He couldn't make up his own person.
I don't know.
I mean, at least let's put it this way. At least,
But we
it's
do
not
find out
some
later there-
Sexy women.
His ship is
That's true.
crewed with holograms.
Wait, it's just
And
him
they
and
all-
a bunch of holograms
They all look like him.
that look like him. That is
Like
That's
we
so
get there's a
weird.
later episode that dives into this more, so
okay.
we can
All right.
revisit this.
Sounds good.
Which is I think probably my favorite episode of the whole season.
Oh, what episode is that?
It's later on.
Okay. Not,
I think it's
Feel
like
nothing.
it's like 6 or 7, something like that.
Wow, it takes that long to get into it.
What? I didn't say it took me that long to get into it. I just said this one of my favorite episodes.
Okay. Yeah,
Anyway.
he didn't say he was into it. He just said it was the least bad one.
So Rios shrugs this off. He tries to dismiss the guy. He's like, you're an emergency hologram. We no longer have a navigational emergency. And we get, it's actually kind of rather humorously shot because there's one scene where like he just lifts his head up over the back of the book that Rios is reading, like with this big stupid grin on his face. And he continues trying to persuade. He's trying to persuade Rios that he can trust Picard, right? This is Jean-Luc Picard. You can trust him. And Rios is like, no, I can't do that again, basically.
So this is the ENH is giving him advice.
Yeah.
I can't get hurt again.
Well, we find out
I've
that
trusted in captains.
the
before.
last
Oh man,
time-
that guy's so deep.
the last time he put his trust into a captain like that was 10 years ago. And ever since then, he still can't close his eyes without seeing his blood and brains splattered all over the bulkhead.
Oh man, that guy's
So that's why he uses his own image.
Such a tragic backstory.
That's a weird backstory.
Oh, we find out more later.
Oh, man.
Can't wait.
Of course,
I
we do.
wish
so-
it was like, no, we don't want to know your backstory. Let's just move on with the story.
All right. Well, after he does it, he deactivates the ENH.
Okay.
And
I'm
then
trying to figure this out. Why the ENH is also counseling him?
The ENH.
Yeah, the ENH, the emergency navigation.
They're his only friends.
I'm just saying, the ENH is apparently programmed to also be a ship's counselor. That's kind of funny. Like EMH would kind of make sense. He's a doctor. He's also been programmed to do mental health.
If they're programmed with Rios' personality and knowledge, then Rios is a smart guy. He reads a lot of books. Maybe the holograms know a lot of stuff too.
At least the one.
He's the one.
Well, we get the impression that this guy he's very well read. He's a smart guy.
All right.
Right? He's Starfleet to the core.
He's so cool.
I guess he's a little like Kirk.
Maybe.
All right, I'm in.
So Rios is sad and he kind of sits back in his chair and kind of looks out the window at the stars, and we get that sort of star transition because the next shot is Picard looking up at the stars at Chateau Picard. He's back home now.
Wait, why did he beam up just to beam back down?
Well, they're not leaving yet. He's just making preparations.
Interview.
What preparations did he make by beaming up?
Meeting the captain.
They couldn't have done. They never heard of hailing or.
Well, he would be able to check out the ship that way too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we want to meet the guy face to face, look him in the eye, shake his hand, see how he deals with tritanium shrapnel.
It's also much easier to manipulate him when you're in person.
That's true.
Have you ever tried talking to somebody over text, Dustin? It's impossible.
Or over some sort of voice over IP.
Impossible.
It's just not the same.
It is not the same.
Oh wait.
Social distancing. Yay!
So Picard is outside. He's not looking at the sky. He's got his eyes closed. We find out he's smelling the air. Right? He's taking in the scents of the vineyard.
He's not expected to be coming back.
So Lars walks out, and they talk about how much Picard is going to miss the harvest time, and he describes all the smells and the wood and the grapes, and then we find out he goes on and he explains. He says, "I tried my best to belong to this place, to make it home, to make it feel like home, but I never really could." And Lars says, "Well, I guess you've always had one eye on the stars." Cut to commercial. And that ends Act 2, Dustin. So now I'm going to shoot it back over to you.
All right.
That was the end of Act 2. So now we're going to send it over to you for our corrections corner.
Yeah. So I have I have a bunch of nitpicky stuff, as you would expect. So I'm just going to go in no particular order. We had an argument about, have you ever known hate groups to define what they hate? Someone suggested that hate groups are bad at defining what they hate. And
I didn't say hate groups.
Well,
I think I said when you fear something.
No, you said hate. And that's what struck with me. And
something.
Yeah,
but not like a hate group hate something. It's just
that's actually what it's going to point out is like
the Zhat Vash.
The Zhat Vash hate, we have
they hate AI.
They hate AI, and I will say that our hate groups in history of Earth are actually really weirdly particular in their definitions. Like if you look at the racial laws in Latin America over the period of colonialism, they invented new words and terms for all of the different things, and how and then in America, like you're black or you're half black, and then in Germany, the Nazis, you were Jewish if your grandfather was Jewish. They were just, and it just kind of occurred to me after that conversation, actually, hate groups are weirdly good at defining precisely what it is they hate.
Very technical.
Yeah, weirdly technical. So if the Zhat Vash,
well, if you control the definitions, you control how they think. It's newspeak.
Well, I mean, it's a form of manipulation.
Like 1984.
That's not really what I was going to go for. So my point is, when we're talking about the Zhat Vash, Zhat Vash. Yeah, I would expect them to
the double secret Romulan KGB.
I would expect them to have a very solidly defined line of what they consider numerical functions only versus artificial intelligence. Which brings me to my next point. I did say at some point, I bet we could find evidence in the past about Romulans and artificial intelligence, and some person on YouTube did actually post the TNG clip of some Romulan talking to Data, be like, man, there's a bunch of Romulans at the cybernetic whatever that would love to get their hands on you.
Yeah, probably to deactivate him.
That's not what he meant. He meant to sleep. So I can't take credit for
he
finding
could have
that.
meant a lot of different things, but
He was very he was very clear.
But if he doesn't specify,
no,
then
he
it
was
doesn't
very clear.
violate
He wanted to
canon.
study and recreate it because he's impressed by him. And
well, maybe he's just not part of the Javash, so he doesn't know.
well, no, because the thing we were talking about was how, well, haven't you ever noticed that Romulans don't have AI? Well, apparently they do, and they have institutes studying it. Again, my early
or they don't.
Yeah.
That's why they want data.
That's why they want to study him.
there have definitely been institutes around to investigate things we don't like as a way to study and control it.
Yeah, but this was very much, we're gonna build stuff like you.
Yeah, we want to find out how you tick so we can perhaps emulate it.
Yeah, that was.
Well, maybe he's not part of the Javash secret, so he doesn't know.
Well, no, but him not knowing is fine, but the very fact that there's an institute that studies them,
It's a secret
trying to
institute.
advance it. It's not.
They are Romulans. They do have a lot of secrets.
Okay, that brings me to my next point, that not all Romulans are secretive. So I did come up with.
Oh, did you find an example?
I found several.
You can actually name one?
Yes, so there is Tyrol. She is the person that controlled the that was sent by the Romulans with the cloaking device that Defiant used.
She was
She was very much a straight shooter. She did not deceive the crew, and in fact was with them until the very end.
Well, just because none of her secrets got exposed doesn't mean she doesn't have any.
Well, you said, have you ever seen a Romulan? Okay, absence of evidence is not evidence.
Sure.
There was, again...
Which means you have to show me somebody who explicitly states that they have no secrets.
No.
But what if they're
I
lying?
have secrets. Like, that's a silly thing to ask of someone.
I guess.
Yeah. And then there's, again, this is how I came up with the name Orem so quickly earlier. There was Orem in Voyager. Again, straight shooter, former Borg, actually helped out Chakotay.
Oh, wait, what's that?
And then my last one is actually my favorite example of a Romulan not being sneaky, was Senator Vreenak from the very famous DS9 episode, The Pale Moonlight. He was actually the most straightforward, upfront person in that whole episode.
Is that the
it's a
fake guy?
a fake guy.
Yeah. And he gets murdered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's real.
In fact, it was the Federation and Garrick being the sneaky, deceptive people. So
That is correct.
Eric?
yeah,
Eric
so
being
that was
sneaky?
yeah, no. So that was my favorite counterexample of finding.
No way,
that
an
one.
ex-spy being sneaky? No.
Yeah. All admirals being
Okay,
evil.
fine. Okay, Dustin, fine. I guess you are justified in saying hashtag not all Romulans.
I know what you're trying to imply, but I'm still going to take my victory there. All right, last one. All admirals in Starfleet are evil. Of course, they're not
Corrupt.
or corrupt. That is not true. First of all, Picard was an admiral.
Well, he doesn't count.
I should point out, but even if he doesn't count, Admiral Archer was an admiral.
No, it doesn't count if they were a captain in a show first.
Okay, well then, how about Admiral Paris?
Tom's father?
Tom's father who helped.
Nah,
get
he was
it.
a jerk.
He was a jerk, but he was not corrupt.
I don't remember that episode.
Yeah.
He came through in the end and was actually actively trying to get Voyager home. So he was an admiral. He was a person who was an admiral during the entire run of the series and was not corrupt.
Well, okay. So in TNG, I suppose.
TNG. Well,
it seems to me that most of the time that we see higher ups from Starfleet, like an admiral or anything else, they usually have ulterior motives.
Yeah, if you had said usually, I will say yes. They are often portrayed as
As
corrupt.
the series went on, yeah.
I just like my hyperbole.
Yeah. So, and then I have one more. I wrote down Brian and Stairs. but I don't know
Oh,
what I meant when I said
Well,
that.
I
so
think I
don't
know what you meant because you seemed confused when we were talking about that scene when I
Oh,
described that Dodge and Picard in San Francisco. This is the part where Dodge suddenly notices because she can hear things like a block away. So she knows that something's coming after them. So they run away and they run up some stairs to the top of a building, right? And I think you got the impression that this was like a set of stairs like at the end of a courtyard or something. No, this is like a fire, like I think of like a stairwell inside of a building, but outside.
Yeah.
Apparently.
So
it's like a big stairwell.
I remember that argument. I don't know why I wrote that down to bring it up again. So
well, I had asked you to remind me.
Okay.
Yeah, he did.
Next week on Corrections Corner.
Oh, okay.
Justin will remember.
Okay. So this is me reminding you of that. All right.
And that's my correction.
That is your correction. So
I actually have a couple others too.
Oh, please. Let's bring them up if you want to bring them up now.
So Wesley Crusher, he did come back after having left with the Traveler. Because we see him at the very beginning of Nemesis.
Didn't I say that in the episode?
Did you?
I don't know if I said in Nemesis, but I did say he came back.
Well, I had said he came back too. But I was saying this to specify when we see him again.
The only other time we see him. But he didn't even have a speaking part. He was just there.
Yeah, he's at the wedding.
So he did
in the novels he comes back, but that's not canon.
I just like the fact that he didn't say anything, so it sounds like he didn't want to give Picard the opportunity.
Also, something else I found out, Picard doesn't necessarily have Irrimatic syndrome. He has that defect, which could later lead to things, including possibly Irrimatic syndrome. But that's why they don't say it specifically in the episode, is because it's not specifically that he has Irrimatic syndrome. It's he has this defect that could lead to any number of complications, including that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, just because he had it in All Good Things doesn't mean he has it in Picard.
It's only in that anti-timeline in the future that he actually has it.
At the end of the episode, though, like he was in like the standard timeline.
Well, they find out that he has
defect.
Yes.
That was 100% sure.
Because they scan for the defect and they find it.
Yeah.
But the defect in and of itself isn't Irrimatic syndrome.
Okay, no, I think that's a very subtle point to come across. That's what we Star Trek fans like to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad.
And that's all I have for now.
Okay.
We are on page 9, Act 3.
Deep page 9.
The best page.
We rejoin the action at the artifact.
Oh boy, I love the artifact.
Action is a strong word.
Yeah.
That's true. Because the action in question right now is Ramda placing another triangular tile. This one has a door symbol on it.
Ooh.
Soji and Hugh are there. Soji's asking about the door, and we find out that what it actually is there's a Romulan term that Hugh says it's Shaipuin.
Okay.
Which means a false door. And then Soji is like, oh yeah, Romulan houses, they have a false front door that they never use, and you have to go around the back and enter in the back door. So it's like every house in suburbia.
Yeah. I'm like, this sounds like people I knew growing up.
You know when you use the front door, because that goes right into the living room and you're tracking mud everywhere.
Yeah.
Just go through the garage like a normal.
Yeah.
Except for my house.
So apparently this is a Romulan tradition, is they always have a false front door. And Hugh just kind of looks over, he's like, well, you're quite a know-it-all, aren't you?
Oh, good Lord.
He just knew a language nobody else did.
And that's what Hugh says.
Justin, we have to be reminded that she's clever or possibly possessing of knowledge she should not. So carry on.
So Soji picks up a chair from the table, moves it around behind Ramda, and sits down. So she's facing Ramda's back. And she says in Romulan, this Romulan phrase, she says, if certain people requested entry, would it be granted? And Ramda says, you may sit. So Soji goes over and joins her at the table.
The Earth King has invited you to Lake Logai. Got it.
Cut to Chateau Picard. This is probably, like, I'm guessing immediately after the conversation that Picard and Laris just had, because they're walking back in, and Jaban carries this bag of food. He's got a bag of bread, and there's other stuff, and there's like a plum that he mentions.
Is it French bread?
It's bread for the road. There is a loaf of French bread, yes. But we get the impression this is home cooked food for Picard to take with him.
Aw.
Right? Home cooked, not replicated.
Okay, whatever. No, carry on. I'm not even.
No, I mean,
No, it's a
this is
common
kind of-
trope in Star Trek is that
I
real food tastes
guess.
better than that replicated stuff.
I mean, these Romulans who apparently perfected French cooking.
Well, they lived with Picard, so of course.
I get. Oh,
Picard has very, very particular tastes.
particular case, but was he a French? I mean, was he able to teach them French cooking?
Oh, maybe they read it in a book.
Maybe they watch the Great British Bake Off like I do.
Yeah, the Great French
Or
Bake
the Great
Off.
French Bake Off, yeah.
That
It's
happens
They
in
make baguettes on the
2240.
Great
probably a
British Bake
hollow
Off.
program.
Or they looked up the 24th century equivalent of a YouTube video.
I mean, they probably would want to blend in with their new home, learn about it.
Right, you're right. They're good, excellent spies. Of course,
Yeah.
they learn French cooking to endear themselves to Picard.
So
Excellent.
Jabon carries in this bag of food and he's talking about, food for the road. We got bread, we got this, we got a plum. But he drops the plum. And he drops the plum and he bends over. And as soon as he
Gasp.
bends over to pick up the plum, a disruptor blast shoots right where his head was and hits the wall behind him.
Whoa!
Yeah.
That's convenient.
Suddenly an action sequence. Basically, they all duck for cover. And then
Okay.
Laris and Jabon, they jump into action. Laris grabs a knife that was sitting on the table. And Jabon grabs a wine glass that he later breaks over somebody's head. And
Of course he does.
A
That
wine
wouldn't
glass?
hurt anybody.
a wine glass. Because a
glass
bunch of
would hurt anyone.
Romulan ninjas show up and they charge into the house and try to attack. And there's this big fight scene. It's actually really well shot. It's a cool fight sequence.
Stop. Back up a second. We have to do this again. Why didn't they just beam directly into the room like they did with?
Because that would spoil the
Gosh.
surprise.
Yeah, they could have just beamed directly in, done the flying knife thing, or of course, better yet, just beam the three of them out of there.
No, because even when you're insta-porting, it still takes that split second.
It doesn't.
It's
Except
slower
they
than just
already-
randomly shooting without warning into a house.
Yeah,
The
like,
only thing that foiled their plan was Jabon dropped the plum. and
Which he
then
probably
told her
did
to
on
pick it up.
purpose.
yeah, they wouldn't have to shoot randomly. They could just insta-port in and bam, 3 shots, go home.
No, that would require them to prep the shot while they're insta-porting.
You
Like
mean like
they're
they prepared the
preparing
knife for killing Dodge's boyfriend?
Yeah, you mean like the
Exactly.
very first instance we saw them. Check.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yeah. No, they decide to do an ambush attack from outside, starting with a single shot that just happened to have bad timing.
Well, they're fighting
if he had
Romulans
shot-
now. They got to
If
give
he
them
had shot a split second earlier before Jabon dropped the plum, it would be a completely different show.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so anyways,
So these Romulan ninjas
spies.
come rushing in, right? There's a whole team of them. I didn't count, but I want to say there's 6 or 7 or 8 or something like that. There's a whole squad of them.
So okay,
And there's this actually really well shot. I think it's a pretty good shot fight scene. You can tell what's going on and it's not excessive handheld camera shaking. Right.
Oh, thank goodness.
It's an all right action sequence. The 2 Romulan housekeepers fight off. This is when Laris stabs with her knife and Jabon bashes one over the head with his wine bottle. Even
Wait, were
Picard
they
gets
wearing
in on the
helmets?
action.
Wait,
Yeah, they're wearing helmets. But even Picard gets in on the action and starts attacking. And they're doing all this hand-to-hand combat with these Romulans carrying these large disruptor rifles.
because of course.
Yeah.
Why did they just shoot?
I mean, some shots do get off, but they always miss or they're redirected. The Romulan or Laris and Jabon end up disarming a couple of them, shooting them. There's one shot where Laris is on the floor and she reaches up underneath the coffee table and pulls out a phaser gun that was there under the pre-placed under the coffee table just in case.
These are they are super spies living with
Yeah,
Picard.
they mean business during the scene. Even Picard gets in on the action and is fighting, and they eventually defeat them all. They win.
How does Picard get in on the action?
He's got a little walking stick in his hand or something.
And he hits one of them
Wow.
like an old man. Get over here, you old man, get
Hey, that's a fighting style.
it.
So they fight him off.
I would
Very-
watch a kung fu movie about old man with a stick technique.
watch any kung
Isn't
fu
that
movie.
any? Yeah.
Yeah, cane fighting's legit.
All right.
So they win.
I can't believe they win.
Yeah, they win. And there's a brief moment where they're kind of catching their breath.
Dodge couldn't beat them up, but these two Romulan spies and Old Man Picard can. Got it.
There's three of them.
Don't bring a disruptor to a cane fight.
Yeah.
But then suddenly one more rushes in the doorway. You hear the disruptor charging.
There before.
I don't know, but he rushes in. You hear the disruptor charging, and then you hear another shot as this Romulan ninja gets shot from behind and falls to the floor. And then in walks none other but Agnes.
Oh, Agnes?
Agnes carrying one of the disruptor rifles. She looks very shocked, like she can't believe what just happened. And she's like, maybe it was on stun. And Lars is like, well, Romulan disruptors don't have a stun setting. And then Agnes is like, oh God, and drops the disruptor on the floor. And Picard goes to calm her down.
Which then goes off, I'm hoping.
No, she half drops it.
Wait, so where did Agnes get the rifle from if she was outside?
That's a good question. I assume there were a couple quick shots where they're like firing in various directions. Like one of them's out like an open doorway. So maybe one of the Romulans outside got shot and she picked up the disruptor. I don't know. That's a good question.
Or it's all an act.
Oh, I like it. I like the way you're thinking.
Done.
Meanwhile,
Thank goodness I saved you.
Cut to Chateau Picard.
We were at Chateau Picard.
Yep, cut to Chateau Picard a few minutes later.
Does it say a few minutes later?
No, but they have one of the Romulans tied up in a chair.
So one of the Romulans didn't get killed. So good.
Yeah, this is like a few minutes later because like they have a Romulan tied up in a chair, and then Picard goes to talk to Agnes about why she's there.
Why did they fast forward a few minutes?
I don't know.
Instead of just Picard would be going over there comforting Agnes right away.
So they sit down on his couch. Picard gives Agnes a glass of wine.
We're gonna charge through this. All right.
And Agnes tells Picard about Commodore O and the meeting, and she tells Picard, he's like, I'm sorry, I told her everything. I'm a terrible liar. Right. Well, no, because Agnes, she's like, no, this is the director of Starfleet Security.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
I told her everything she wanted.
You don't
to
mess
know.
with that. I get that.
Otherwise, she'd have mind melded with you and got it anyways.
Ooh.
But then she says, there is one thing I didn't tell her. But then right then, behind them, Jaban is like moving to strike the Romulan who's tied up in the chair. Like he's winding up a big old hit of some sort. And then Lars is like, no, don't do it. And Jaban is like, we have no time, Lars. They're send others. And Lars in Romulan says, we're not like them anymore.
Whoa, they're spies.
What? No way. They're ex-spies? I never saw that coming.
But they learned morality from Picard. He made them better people.
And then she sprays the Romulan in the face with a spray bottle of water. And he wakes up.
Oh, I thought it was like a bad cat moment.
No,
got to roll up.
Bad Romulan.
I mean, I assume it looks to me just like a normal spray bottle of water, like futuristic, but it's like she just like sprays him a couple times in the face, and he wakes up.
Apparently, Chateau Picard has some cats they had to discipline.
And then Picard walks up and says, "Let's talk." Cut to the artifact. Yeah, this whole next session like cuts back and forth constantly between the artifact and Chateau Picard.
Back to the artifact.
That's weird.
But Soji might be doing something stupid.
We're basically getting the same revelation in both scenes, so they have to happen at the same time. Storytelling.
Just not have.
We have Soji still talking to Ramda.
Okay.
We find out that the cards are called Pixmit. It's spelled Pixmit, but it's pronounced with that German CH, Pixmit, or something like that. A little bit softer than I just did.
Classically Roman. Yes, got it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Soji is asking about the cards, and she's like, "Are they connected to Romulan mythology?" And then Ramda like looks up at that, and she actually speaks. She says, "Mythology? I hate that word." Right? We find out that there's no Romulan word for mythology.
That's dumb.
Soji says, well, is there a better word? Maybe scriptures, sacred stories, legendarium. Ramda says, the news. And Soji's into it. She's biting this hook, line, and
This
sinker.
is so mysterious.
And she gets this big old grin, and she's talking to Hugh, and it's like, see, this is what I want to study, right? Former Borg dealing with trauma through shared narrative framework, rooted in deep archetypes, but as relevant as the day's news. Right? This fits right into her theory or her plan about helping these XBs with a shared narrative framework.
I don't think so.
No, it's okay. Soji's an anthropologist.
She is?
What?
Wait,
Yeah.
What is she doing?
It's
I heard
mentioned
it.
in an offhand comment.
But
But then Ramda looks up and looks at Soji and says, I know you. Cut to Chateau Picard.
I like to point out also that I love that the Romulan mythology expert is named Ramda. It's like, because we can't think of anything more creative than going, she's a Romulan, so
Well, it's spelled
Ramda.
Ramdha is her name.
I don't care.
it does. Yeah, it doesn't make much of a difference.
That's not relevant
But-
how it's spelled.
So anyway, back at Chateau Picard, Picard is starting to question this Romulan and basically offers to release the Romulan if he answers the questions. Right? And
All of
Jabon's
them?
like,
even the dead ones.
what?
I said
No,
all
no,
of
he'll
them?
release him, the one that they're questioning.
Oh, okay.
Right? He's like, I'll let you go if you answer our questions. And then Jabon is like, oh, this is pointless. And Lars immediately speaks up and she's like, of course it's pointless because he's a stubborn northerner like you. Smacks the Romulan on his head.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Romulan.
Kristen and I were actually mentioned this during the break that there are two kinds of Romulans. There are the northern ones and the southern ones. And I think, what is it? The northern ones have the ridges?
I think so. Yeah, one of them has the V ridge above the eyebrows, and then one of them does not.
Yeah.
So one of them looks like more like what's the old human? Neanderthal.
Well, the ones
human?
without the ridges look like Vulcans.
Yeah. Okay.
Basically, Lars is being racist.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's like
Yeah.
Romulan racism right there.
But it's okay because she's got an Irish accent.
Yeah.
He's just a stubborn northerner like you. I also love that the Irish Romulan is prejudiced against the northerners.
Oh,
Wonder if that connects to anything we've talked about before. Back at the artifact, Ramda looks at Soji and says, I remember you from tomorrow. And Soji's
So
like,
mysterious.
they
So
kind of
mysterious.
go into it. She's like, what was I doing when you met me tomorrow? And she doesn't answer. And then Soji then goes into this thing. Like suddenly she's explaining stuff that she shouldn't know. She mentions, she was like, you were on, talking to Ramda, you were on the last ship that was assimilated by this cube. And he was like, how did you know that? And Soji keeps going and she explains that Ramda was on the Imperial scout ship Shanor with 25 other passengers and something went wrong after they were assimilated. Something went wrong. And so Ramda's starting to get nervous and starting to freak out. And then Soji's like, what caused the submatrix collapse? And then, things are getting tenser and tenser and we cut. This is when we're starting to cut back and forth almost line for line. Right.
Yeah.
So we cut to the chateau. The Romulan says, she's not a girl, talking about Daj. It goes back to the artifact and Ramda's like, which one are you? Right. So basically, just to summarize here, at the chateau, the Romulan's saying she's not what you think she is. And Picard's asking, is there another one like her? Right. Trying to find out where she is. Where is the other one? And he says, you'll never find her before we do. Meanwhile, at the artifact, Ramda is asking, which sister are you? The one who dies or the one who lives? And Soji looks really shaken at this. And then kind of at the same relative time here with the cutting back and forth at the chateau, the Romulan says some Romulan swear word, Kejtin or something like that. And Laris immediately responds by punching him and knocking him on his back on the floor.
Wow.
At the same time, Ramda suddenly charges
Wait, back up a second. Wasn't Loris the one that says, hey, this is useless, don't hit them?
No, it was Jabon that was saying this is useless.
Yeah, well, but I thought Loris was the one that like Jaban was about to hit somebody and Loris stopped him.
Laris.
Loris stopped him.
Yeah, because we're not like them anymore.
I thought he was
But
going
she's
to
hit
kill
this
him.
guy twice. We're not
Well,
like
she punches him because
I'll
he said
punch
a bad
him
word.
twice.
Apparently, she was offended.
Watch your mouth, sir.
Meanwhile, Ramda charges
trying to kill me. I won't punch you if you try to kill me, but if you swear at me, oh man, right in the face.
I mean, you don't know what he said.
Rhonda grabs a disruptor pistol from one of the Romulan guards.
Oh my
And,
god, now she's gonna kill him.
Yeah, and then she's yelling at Soji. She's like, I know who you are. You are Seb Cheneb. You are the Destroyer. And then all the other Romulans are starting to freak out, right? And then back at the chateau, the Romulans like, she's the end of all. She's the Destroyer. And then bites into an acid pill and spits it at Jaban. And then melts. He like melts out of the
Did
chair.
Jaban melt this time?
No, Jaban like pulled his jacket off in time.
Okay,
It didn't get on his skin. It just got on his clothes. So he
didn't spit up on any of the disruptors and make them explode.
No.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Does Soji know that her sister's dead yet?
Nope.
Like, don't you think they would have told her?
You'd think so. Unless there was some sort of cover up.
So you would think she'd be like, hey, I can't get a hold of my sister for a while.
Well, the computer's just mistaken.
Well,
her
they
for
address
her
it.
sister,
They
so-
address it.
Yeah.
They address that.
Oh, they do?
That's it. That's in Act 4.
Oh, okay.
All right. So meanwhile, at the artifact, Ramda takes the disruptor pistol and she points it at her head. She's going to try to shoot herself, but Soji charges and stops her. She saves her. Right. And then like there's this moment where like it's weird. Soji is ending up basically looking concerned. All the other Romulan XBs are like staring at her angrily. Right. And that's the end of Act 3.
Oh boy. So now we've got a mystical destroyer of the galaxy.
Yep.
Great.
You are the destroyer. Seb Cheneb.
Kind of hate this mystical stuff coming into Star Trek, but whatever.
Because Star Trek's never had mystical stuff before.
Yeah, there's tons of mystical and mythological, which I
Well, I
kind of
know.
forget about sometimes.
But I just mean like this there's never been like this mystical mystery of chosen one to either for good or bad, you know.
Except for, Star Trek 5.
And even then, there was no chosen one.
Literally,
They were
Spock's
just-
brother
She's
is
not
the
a
chosen one.
No.
Well, he
She's not
thought
a
he was.
chosen one. She's a destroyer.
Yeah, she's chosen to destroy.
Chosen-
Yeah, she's the chosen destroyer.
No, she's not chosen. She's destined. There's a difference.
Chosen by destiny. Yes, that would be the term.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Act
Adam.
4.
Moving right along.
Carrying on.
Soji calls her mom.
Oh, all right, there you go.
Yeah, I told you it was coming up.
Yeah. The
So
Terminator
she calls her mom, asks if Daj is okay, because she's obviously shaken by what Ramda has said.
Okay.
Right. And her mom's like, oh, yeah, she's fine. I just heard from her earlier today. She's thinking of getting a puppy.
Done.
And then she starts like her mom starts talking about like various like she's doing the mom talk thing. And then Soji, like it shows her eyes are getting heavy and she's like getting ready to pass out on her bed. You know, like what happens when your mom is talking to you.
Okay.
Listen in on my phone conversations.
Anyway, cut to a few minutes later when Soji wakes up, some unspecified amount of time later. She wakes up, her doorbell is going off. She says, enter. Narek shows up.
Hey.
Narek walks in. He's like, are you all right? He's concerned. Soji explains. She's like, if you'd have asked me a little bit before, I wouldn't have known anything about, this Romulan ship, the Shaynor, or, being assimilated but, she knows things about this Romulan ship.
She knows stuff now.
She knows stuff. But she's like, maybe, I've read everything that's not classified about this Borg cube. Maybe I read it in one of those and I just forgot about it. She looks at Narek. She's like, do you believe me? And Narek gently sits down next to her, takes her both hands in his, and says, can you keep a secret? Soji nods. Narek leans in and whispers in her ear and says, I may be falling in love with you.
Oh,
For sake.
mother.
And they do a forehead kiss. They forehead kiss and then they hug. And
They've
that's the
known
end
each
of the
other for
scene.
like 2 days.
What the
What?
no?
Oh, girlfriend, you need to run.
That is
I know nothing about you
ridiculous.
except that you
Krista
love me.
thoughts. I may be falling in love with you. That's a
And that
direct
doesn't
quote.
answer her question.
Nope. Did you expect it to? She's completely into his secret keeping thing.
Wow.
Ugh.
Like
Sounds
they've
like a pretty
established
stable
this.
basis for a relationship to me. I mean,
That is gross.
Cut to elsewhere on the cube where we see Rizzo
not a Muppet.
in full sleek, skin tight outfit, black Romulan regalia.
Thankfully,
She's got
not
like
a
long,
Muppet.
straight black hair. She's got her pointy ears back, right? And I'm talking skin tight leather outfit.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course.
Oh.
Camera angles showing all the curves and everything.
Well, we haven't seen anything that skin tight since 7 of 9's uniforms.
And she encounters Narek in a corridor somewhere, right? He grabs him. She's like, hey, I'm here, right? Guess what? I'm here. And she mentions that she can smell Soji on him and mentions that the smell is remarkably carnal. Yes, there's a lot of sexual tension here between these two.
Oh
And
my
I
God.
remind you,
What
they're brother and sister.
Why is there sexual tension between these?
Because Romulans.
What? No, that is not an explanation.
That's definitely not an explanation.
For Alex Kurtzman, it is.
No, this is no.
I don't know. There's sexual tension there. It's very Wagnerian.
Well,
Except they're the bad guys.
Is he just trying to? Was he like, oh, Game of Thrones had,
yeah, he's just
this,
like,
so I'm
yeah.
so
that's
that's
one of
this
the
is what
things.
people. Well, no, he's like, well, that's what it takes to be edgy. So I'm gonna throw in some brother sister incest.
Yeah.
It's only
God, I
implied.
hope so.
It's only
I hope
implied.
not.
That's what all the kids are doing these days.
Okay, or maybe he's confused by the Romulan Roman thing, and he's like there because there was some incest in some of the royal families.
Yeah, it's not just a Roman thing, but okay, carrying on.
Well, I'm just saying, like going back to that, was that
Actually, the Romans were less incestuous than a lot of other places because they weren't really as big on basically heredity as you didn't become emperor because you were the emperor's son necessarily. They were big on changing that shit up and adopting people and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think you're thinking of the Egyptians.
Yeah.
They were big on incest.
The Ptolemaics.
Or you're thinking of the Targaryens.
Yeah.
well, definitely
Because they wed brother and sister for generations.
Yes.
And that didn't cause them any problems
Nope.
whatsoever. So Narek has no new info regarding, Soji and the mission. They argue about his approach again.
Wait, no new information. Didn't she just reveal she knows a whole bunch of stuff?
That's nothing consequential.
But he's falling in love with her, doesn't he?
It's not the information that he's looking for. We get the sense he's digging for something specific. They're arguing about his approach, and he's arguing, it's more subtle, it'll take longer, but it's guaranteed to work, right? And Rizzo is skeptical.
I mean, Narek's right. She's totally just fallen for this act.
Yeah, I don't know how long it's going to take him. It seems like he just needs to ask the right questions.
Yeah. So Rizzo just kind of dismisses him, and as they part, she says, "Good luck, brother. See that you don't fall in love." And Narek, ever the witty response maker, says, "Good to see you looking like yourself again." That's how the scene ends. Well, because she's in her Romulan form now, as opposed to human, with her rounded Wakak ears.
In my brain at this point, whatever his name, what's the guy's name? What's the Theon Grey?
Narek.
Narek is now doing the musical number from Hercules, where he won't say that it's love, basically.
Oh, Meg song.
Yep.
Meanwhile, at Chateau Picard, Picard walks over to Agnes. Is like, "Hey, by the way, what was that one thing that you were telling me about that you didn't tell Commodore O?" And Agnes is like, "Oh, that I'm going with you on this quest." That's what she didn't tell Commodore O.
Wait. She did not use the word quest.
No.
Oh, okay.
The only quote is that I'm going with you. Like, he is going on a quest.
Okay. Well,
it's true. He is going on a quest.
No, I think mission would be a better description.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did they get some fantasy in your Star Trek?
There's a lot of fantasy in this Star Trek.
Sci-fi fantasy,
so
same
much.
thing.
It is.
Oh, well, that's it. The nerds are gonna burn down.
Good night, everyone.
What? I missed it. What happened?
Oh, he said
I said sci-fi and fantasy were the same thing.
Yep. Hey, I will have changed my mind.
Yeah.
Just with a reskin.
And then Rios calls Picard's comm badge. He's like, basically, Picard's like, "You're early." And Rios is like, "No, I'm not. Things are about to get hot." Picard says they're already hot. And Rios says they're going to get hotter.
Such witty banter.
And so basically, right, over the comm, Agnes argues that they need to take her with her. with them. And she argues, she makes 2 points. One, she just killed a man to save their lives. And B, she has to see this miracle that is the synth that she's been studying and dreaming of her whole life, right? And she's the leading expert on synthetic life, and she promises to earn her keep. And there's an inspirational pause, and Rio says, "Time to go." Cut to, they're all on the ship now.
Okay, wait,
I
what
didn't realize
about
Rio was there.
Rios was on the ship.
yeah? What about Loris and
They're not in this shot.
No, I mean they're not going with them.
No, they're staying.
They're staying to clean up the bodies.
Well, they're just staying in general.
Someone's got to take care of the harvest.
Yeah. And in the last episode, Picard said, "No, you're not coming with me."
Hey, I have an idea. We're about to go on a dangerous mission.
A
Let's
quest,
leave the
if you will.
person who was traumatized by killing somebody and take the 2 super spies who just beat down 6 enemies in hand-to-hand
No.
combat when the
No.
enemies had weapons.
He can't
That
take
was a
them
good
with
idea.
him. In order to have proper protection, he needs somebody who hates him and has nothing left to lose.
Yeah, no, that makes no sense. That is not the person I want watching my back.
Yep, we got a paranoid person who doesn't like him, a gruff but intellectual captain who
Who is Starfleet to the
who's
core.
Starfleet to the core, but doesn't like it, and somebody filled with naive hope. Check, got it.
Wait, back
Naive
up another
hope.
second.
Yep.
Ooh.
Picard wasn't shocked by Loris and Jaban going all super ninja?
He knew.
Come on,
Yeah, why would he be shocked by that?
if we could figure it out.
He keeps them around for a reason.
What? Are you serious? So he knew they were former Romulan spies and he was purposely giving them sanctuary on Earth without telling the Federation security? Why do I have to have this argument again?
Nobody said they were former Romulan spies.
You just said he knew what they were, and they are clearly former Romulan spies.
No,
Oh,
they
you asked if he knew they were good at fighting.
Does he not know why they would be good at
They
fighting?
took a
Maybe he
self-defense
does.
course.
Maybe he doesn't care.
Maybe he believed in redemption.
Yeah, they're not like that anymore.
That still seems like something that needs to be addressed. And he
Maybe
is
they
giving-
already addressed it off screen.
Can you imagine somebody saying, "I'm just going to bring in these 2 spies from this foreign country. I know that they are former spies, but I'm not going to tell the FBI or CIA
Yes,
that."
yes, I can't
what I'm
imagine that.
doing?"
Yeah.
That seems borderline traitorous.
How dare you?
So
call
it's
Picard a
treason,
traitor.
then.
Do it.
Yep, you don't get one-liners like that in Star Trek.
Anyway, so the next shot is of the ship, and Picard and Agnes beam aboard. But guess what? Raffi's there too.
Of course she is.
Yeah.
Let's get the person who's apparently really.
Well,
hates
Picard's
Picard.
like, "Raffi, what are you here?" And Raffi says, "Well, I found Maddox, but Picard has to take her with on this trip. She's not joining him. She's just hitching a ride."
Why?
And she explains that Maddox is on Free Cloud,
Mhm.
and she wants to go to Free Cloud.
Why?
Agnes says, "Why do you want to go to Free Cloud?"
Oh, thank you, Agnes.
And Raffi gives her this look like, "Bish, who are you? Like, how dare you ask me this?"
The fighting over the main character begins.
Picard asks her as well, and Raffi is refusing to answer. She's basically like, "I have my reasons, and I don't need to tell you."
You know what? It seems like it would be important to find that out if I was a
You think so?
responsible captain, that there's somebody on my mission that may have ulterior motives. I kind of feel like I'd want to know that.
This is
before I
new
would.
Picard, though. He's a renegade. He's flying by the seat of his pants. He's got
Yeah.
unknown elements in his command staff. Like,
And this is Raffi. He
Yeah.
trusts Raffi.
for some reason.
He trusts people.
Yeah, he's a trust.
Raffi seems like the kind of person you don't want to trust anymore. He's clearly changed.
So Raffi refuses to answer why she wants to go to Free Cloud, and Agnes just looks at her with this big this look on her face, like she can't believe who this person is in front of her, and she's like, "Who are you, lady?" And Raffi looks at her and just like sneers and walks away. They don't like each other, and then Rios is like, "Let's go,"
Great.
and so they all get ready to go,
Setting
and
up
they're
the
all in their
cat fight.
positions.
Got it.
right?
Yeah, because the female characters can never get along.
Nope.
The only two women on the ship, and they already don't like each other.
Of course not. Yeah, women can't get along.
So they're all in position, and then there's a pause, and Rios. So Picard is standing next to Rios in his captain chair, and Rios looks up at Picard, and Picard looks forward and says, "Engage," and they depart, and that is the end of the episode as they jump into light speed.
Oh, okay.
Wish
Well,
I still had my drink.
And we do get one last, after he says engage, we do get one last shot of Agnes, like with this big old grin, like, yeah, he said the thing. And then, like, it shows Raffi looking over, like, annoyed at her, like,
why would Agnes be thrilled about him saying engage?
because she's excited.
Engage.
This is
She's a
Picard.
proxy for the audience.
She's
That's
going to get to meet her
terrible.
dream.
Writing.
Yeah,
I
because he's not the only captain who said engage.
Yeah, right? Like,
That's like,
Right, he's the one who made it cool.
yeah, I guess.
I said engage before it was cool.
Shit.
That.
And we do, in fact, find out that next time, on the next episode, Picard is going to visit a Romulan planet with a bunch of Romulans on it
Mhm.
to recruit a Romulan samurai to join his ragtag team.
Yes. Been waiting for this. Romulan samurai.
Forgot about that.
We get to meet him next time.
Fantastic.
Oh, no.
The Klingons who were based on the Japanese Empire. Romulans are based on the Roman Empire.
Uh-huh. Also, another thing I wanted to mention up, because I know we were talking at one point about, well, Krista, you had brought up a bunch of information about the Romulans and why they have the parallels to Roman Empire, and because the humans gave them those names, and the
That's my
Romulans kind of
assumption, yeah.
accepted that as the translation. I also seem to remember there's an episode in original Trek where they find a planet that's basically a Roman Empire planet. And there's some line of explanation, I forget what it is, but it's something about like parallel cultural evolution of planets.
Yeah, that's a
So it's not unheard of that faraway planets will have similarities and connections to classic cultures of Earth history.
Well, we have to assume it was the Greek and Roman pantheon flying around the universe being playing God. That's kind of how I would justify it in my head if I tried to.
I mean, I'd agree.
and all
with
of our
that.
planets were seeded by the same aliens anyway. We're all descended from the same
The
species.
founders.
That's right. It does explain why they're all humanoid and two
Yeah.
arms,
Although it's
two
not
legs.
it's not technically the founders, but it's the same actress.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
In my head
Oh, really?
canon, yeah. In my head
Oh.
canon, it's the founders who seeded life throughout the galaxy.
No.
Yeah, a lot of actors returned. It's kind of funny.
Hell, the guy who plays Nog plays a side character in the same episode of DS9 that Nog shows up in.
Are you serious?
I think so.
Does
'Cause-
he?
Maybe Nog isn't in an episode, but there is an episode of DS9 where the actor who plays Nog plays a secondary
Oh,
character.
I have to look that up because
Doesn't he play someone in Voyager?
he did, and it.
Oh,
threw-
maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
was
probably
watching. I'm rewatching
Because they did
Voyager,
overlap.
and I caught on to that. I was like, man, this guy sounds a lot like Nog,
Yeah.
Yep.
and I had to look it up. And I was like, yeah, they did use it. That was man.
He might have
That was
played
so
characters in TNG too, like throwaway characters.
Well, Quark did, didn't he? Wasn't he one of the
Yeah.
original?
He was one of the
He
original.
was, he was
Ferengi.
one of the original Ferengi, but he didn't play any other bit parts.
A lot of the Klingons played different aliens.
Well, that's
And,
easy,
wow.
because
I can't think of his name. I think the guy that played Gul Dukat was a few different characters too.
Oh, really?
yeah. There was even a TNG Cardassian who I think was supposed to be Gul Dukat, but that was like before Gul Dukat was conceived of. There's something
Oh.
where they're supposed to be the same character, but they aren't.
I have some sad news. The actor who played Nog passed
Yeah.
away last year.
Yeah.
He did. Yeah.
Yeah,
He was young.
Mhm.
Yeah.
it was very young.
He had
Well-
some conditions.
He was 50, but okay.
That's pretty young for a person.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, he also had, I don't know what it was, but there was a condition where he was shorter than normal, right? It was one of those things. And those kinds of conditions are oftentimes wreak havoc on your health,
mhm.
mainly
Yeah.
your heart.
That's a shame.
Like the John Will, like the oh shoot, what's his name? Comedian played Peter Pan.
Oh,
Robin
Robin
Williams.
Williams.
Yeah, I don't know why I couldn't think of his name.
Really? That's the movie you reach for to try to describe
Robin
No,
Williams?
for Jack. When he played Jack, because Jack had heart problems because he was big.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
I know what I was gonna say was that it's a real shame because I would have totally watched a Star Trek series with Captain Nog.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the sad part in the DS9 documentary is they write a pilot episode, like if they were to bring DS9 back, and Nog was a part of that. And I was really sad because I knew that he had died.
And you can have a special holiday episode where Nog goes to the Gorn planet and has Gorn eggnog.
Oh, God.
And
You know, I knew you were going somewhere, and I wasn't gonna like it.
I
but
thought
was
it was
just too curious to stop you.
I thought it was going to be like a Life Day joke.
You know what? I thought that's where I was going with either, but I'm glad you took option C, Brian.
I'm not.
All right.
So there we go. We have episode 3 out of 10. And I have to say at this point, because I've actually finally finished the whole season, I actually kind of like this show.
Really?
Like, it's poorly written,
Yeah.
but I kind of like it. I enjoyed it.
Does Soji ever become like a real person?
Oh, I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
I mean,
spoilers.
after she gets swallowed
Someday
by the
I'll
whale.
be a real boy.
And yeah.
Yeah, she
It's
becomes a real boy at the end.
So far, like her character just seems so unbelievable to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like hopping into bed with this guy right after he says that he loves her, which was a
Hey,
total
he's-
non sequitur from what just happened.
Yeah.
He's
Like,
mysterious.
that's so dumb.
I'm having a deep personal
renegade.
crisis. Please tell me what you think. I love you. Oh, well, let's forget all of that.
And
shit.
he looks and talks like Theon Greyjoy.
Oh.
So, there's that.
pre-incident, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
yeah, everything he did in that scene, I'm just like, I would shove that guy from my room and never speak to him again.
Well, you're not Soji. You're not into secretive guys.
Yeah, even if I was, no.
Well, you're also not a flesh and blood android, so there's that.
Living in a
Like
board.
the first couple,
Maybe it's her. Are you blaming her programming?
I blame parent programming.
the first couple episodes, I wondered if Soji was using him for some reason, but it's sounding like she's not, and that makes me sad.
Nope. Yep.
You know, I take back what I said about starting to enjoy this episode just with the way it ended and all the stuff that happened in the second half. I'm like,
Oh,
I'm
you
kinda
didn't like the
active
fight scene?
depressed. I didn't like the fight scene. The stuff that happens after it was just a whole lot of
Or the stuff that
cool
happens
shot
before it.
cliches. Oh no, don't punch him. We're better than that. You swear all it takes
We're
is
not
to
like
swear
them
at him,
anymore.
and then she punches him. Like,
Yeah.
are you kidding me?
He said a bad
Hey,
word.
Maybe it was a really bad word.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're
Fact checker. Look up that word. I can spell it for
Somebody just tried to kill
Do
you.
it.
There's nothing worse that they could do or say that would then make you want to punch them. more.
Apparently, there was.
you. All right, so it's
He said
Q.
he said Romulan. He's in Romulan. He said Hail Hydra. That was it.
So Brian, when you say you enjoyed it, you mean like you can turn off your brain and enjoy it, or there was a overall story that, while in the nitty gritty was poorly written, but the bigger story was better.
it goes to some interesting places.
So the best I can do for you is that Memory Alpha does determine that it is a swear. That is about it. That is the extent of.
He said a swear.
It's not on memory beta, is it?
I don't think so.
But I will say that the story goes to some interesting places that I did not expect it to go to. Yeah, I don't know how much more I can say.
I wouldn't say any more than that. We'll
Yeah.
get there. We got 7 more hours of this.
Only 7? You got to expand that. You got to extrapolate.
Oh, sorry. We'll have 7 times 3 hours more of this.
Yeah, the only other
Hooray.
place I'm really finding anything is it's already made it onto TV tropes in the page Pardon My Klingon. Yeah,
Whatever it is.
it's
God bless you.
Apparently,
It is
it's
literally
so
just-
bad.
yeah.
Apparently, it's so bad that even Memory Alpha can't tell us what it is. Or it's just secret swear word because it is Romulan.
Oh, it's double secret.
Double
Jat
secret
Va.
swear.
And they are Jat Vash, and they haven't shared that information with Memory Alpha.
Oh, jeez.
They collaborate, but only what they want you to know.
All right. Should we bring this to a close?
I think so.
Thank you once again for listening to Back Up a Second. I've been your host, Dapper Stormtrooper. I'd like to thank all of you for joining me on this fine day, afternoon, evening, whatever you happen to be experiencing. Thank you for listening to us ramble for a while, and just remember that
your life, as it has been, is over. Your life, as it has been, is over.
I did not mean to hit